Good morning and welcome to our August 25th, 2026 Board of County Commission meeting. We are delighted that you've joined us this morning. Please join us for the invocation, which is going to be led by Pastor Steve Bray, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which is going to be led by Michael Drost.
Good morning. It's a privilege to represent the Grace Place Church, which has been serving our community for 49 years. Let's look to the Lord this morning. Join me in prayer. Dear Lord, what a blessing it is to wake up each and every morning to this beautiful community, this slice of paradise we call Martin County. We thank you that every day we hear the call of the sand and the surf. We enjoy the beautiful rays of your golden sunshine. Lord, we thank you that we get to live in a community with diversity, with people of every age and stage of life. We thank you, God, that we can share this community together, and we pray for its prosperity. We pray, God, for your favor to rest upon our community. And Lord, we pray for those in our community today who may be less fortunate, those who need your provision, those who may not know where they're going to lay their head tonight or where they're going to find their next meal. God, we pray on their behalf that you would take care of them. We thank you for the decisions that are going to be made in this body today. We pray for your divine wisdom, that you would govern every action that is taken today. And Lord, we just give our community to you again. We thank you for it, and we pray your best over it. And we pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Good morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There are three additional items today. One is Proclamation 2, which is a presentation of a certificate of recognition to Josiah Bauer. Proclamation 3 is present a plaque of recognition and appreciation to Donald Adamson upon the occasion of his retirement from service with the Martin County Board of County Commissioners. Consent 12 is adopt a proclamation declaring Florida Redevelopment Week in Martin County. There are two consent polls today. One is consent 5, and it's been pulled by Commissioners Campy, Hurd, and Hetherington, and consent 7, which is pulled by Commissioner Hurd. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move approval of the agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. We will begin with proclamations. The first proclamation is to present proclamations that were previously approved by the board. The first is a proclamation declaring Constitution Week in Martin County, Florida.
Good morning, Commissioners. September 17th, 2026 marks the 239th anniversary of the creation of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. The week of September 17th through the 23rd is hereby recognized as Constitution Week, and the Board encourages all citizens to study the Constitution and reflect on the privilege of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities that privilege involves. And here to accept, we have Ray Sameka with the Halpatioke chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Thank you for this opportunity and for the proclamation from the Martin County Board of County Commissioners acknowledging September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. In 1955, the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution petitioned Congress with a resolution to set aside September 17th through the 23rd, dedicated for the observation of Constitution Week. The annual celebration was established when signed into law by President Dwight D. Eisenhower on August 2nd, 1956. NSDAR is committed to encouraging study and educating the public about the Constitution and the men who framed it. Thank you again for this proclamation on behalf of the nearly 300 members of Halpatioke chapter. We invite you to join us for the ringing of the bells in celebration of the signing of the Constitution on September 17th at 4 o'clock at the Stuart Downtown Gazebo. Thank you.
The next proclamation is a proclamation declaring September 2026 as Big Brothers Big Sisters Month in Martin County, Florida.
Big Brothers Big Sisters of Palm Beach and Martin County has been dedicated to creating and supporting one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth. September is recognized nationally as a time to celebrate mentorship and raise awareness of the life-changing impact that positive, supportive relationships have on young people. Excuse me. The 40th anniversary of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Palm Beach and Martin Counties marks a significant milestone in its ongoing mission to empower the potential of youth and build a stronger future for our community. And here to accept, we have Katie Knapfel, Vice President of Programs with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Palm Beach and Martin Counties.
Congratulations, Katie.
Commissioners, on behalf of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Palm Beach and Martin Counties, thank you for this proclamation recognizing our 40th anniversary. We are honored by this acknowledgement and grateful for the support that this has made that has made 4 decades of impact possible. Today, our agency serves more than 430 children across Palm Beach and Martin Counties through one-to-one mentoring relationships. We currently have over 200 children waiting to be matched across our counties, primarily boys waiting for male mentors. We are so grateful for the support of our community partners, including Children's Services Council of Martin County, whose investment helps ensure that young people have access to the mentoring relationships they need to succeed. As we celebrate this milestone, we are grateful for the families who trust us, the mentors who serve, our community partners who invest in our mission, and the local leaders who recognize the importance of developing the next generation. Thank you again for this recognition and for your partnership in building brighter futures, one-to-one mentoring relationship at a time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next proclamation is a proclamation honoring Josiah Bauer. Is someone going to explain why we're honoring Mr. Bauer?
Would you like to address since you requested?
Sure. As the District 3 Commissioner, I thought it appropriate to recognize Josiah Bauer for his heroic action in preventing a very close call on the life of Debbie Spolstra, a Hobe Sound resident, at the railroad crossing on Bridge Road in Hobe Sound, and Mr. Bauer is coming up now. I don't know if you all are on social media, but when this thing hit the fan, it was a big story. The Hobe Sound Happenings Facebook page had over 6,300 likes and nearly 600 shares. So I think everybody in Martin County knows about this story, and I'm going to let Josiah Bauer and Debbie Spolstra tell more about it. So thank you for coming today.
Good morning, and thank you for having us here, Board.
You pull up that mic a little, if you would. There you go. A little taller. There you go.
Tell us about your experience. What precipitated you moving the arm off? Was it heavy?
No, so it wasn't very heavy. I was sitting there on the island looking east, that was. We Trying to get home. Railroad crossing came down, looked down at my phone, looked back up, and I saw Miss Debbie stuck behind the railroad crossing.
Very grateful that this angel was on the other side of the tracks. I was not stuck on the tracks. I went over the I turned as I usually do. I've lived in Hobe Sound for 22 years. Never had this happen to me. And as I turned, the gate came down and it was behind my car. The first thing I did was try to reverse, and for some reason, the gate was stuck on the top of my car behind this antenna that I have. I guess in hindsight, I should have just gunned it and broken the gate and reversed, but at the time, I was pretty frozen and I didn't know what to do. Then I thought about getting out of the car, and then I looked and I saw Josiah running over the tracks. It was like a moment of chariots of fire. He was like running and going very, in my mind, slow, and he got there and he just lifted the gate. So just so grateful for him and his just heroics. Total stranger risking his life to help me. And the part of this that is, it's a God experience for me, is that when I finally asked him, he leaned in my car, "Are you okay?" And we were speaking, and I asked him his name, and he told me it was Josiah, which is not a real common name. And I said, "Wow, my 9-month-old grandson is Josiah also." So that was just, it was a moment that I think was meant to be, and I thank God for Josiah and his selflessness and helping me.
Well, thank you so much.
And if we could we have the commissioners come in the well for a photo?
Let's cheat a little bit this way. Let's get these guys toward the center. Sure. Keep going, keep going. Everybody, another step to your left. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you guys so much.
I didn't know that the gates broke away. So one thing I want to do is, lobby for, I don't know how to do it, but lobby for, education and training. So I don't know how to do that. I'm going to investigate. Wonderful. Thank you for having me. First call and then just caution.
Good morning. Kevin Abate, Parks and Recreation Director. Today, the Martin County Board of County Commissioners and the Parks Department are proud to recognize Donald Adamson for 40 years of dedicated service to Martin County. Donald began his career in 1987 when the Parks Department was still part of the Public Works Department. During the past 4 decades, he's worked throughout Martin County, from our beaches to western communities, and has become someone coworkers, residents could always count on. As a heavy equipment operator, Donald's work has helped build, repair, maintain, and improve parks, facilities, and recreation areas enjoyed by thousands of residents every day. His work can be found throughout Martin County. But 40 years means much more than time on the job. It represents 4 decades of reliability and commitment. Thousands of days of public, often challenging weather, serving the public, often challenging weather and demanding conditions. A lasting impact on the places where families gather, children play, and the residents enjoy the outdoors. Experience and knowledge shared with generations of parks employees, and a legacy of hard work, humility, patience, and pride for a job well done. Donald has always shown up with a positive attitude and willingness to help. He never looked for attention or recognition. He simply took pride in his work and supported the people around him. Donald, your career has a meaningful difference in our park system in this community. So on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, the Parks and Recreation Department, your coworkers, and the residents of Martin County, thank you for your 40 years of outstanding service. We congratulate you on a well-earned retirement, and we wish you and your family many happy years ahead.
Good morning. I just want to first give God thanks for this day, because if it wasn't for him, I would not be here. And no, I give God thanks also for my wife, because she was the one that actually brought me into the county while she was working here. And it's been, a challenge over the 40 years. For the first 3 months that I was hired, 3 months after I was hired, I've got dismissed. But thank God, I was rehired, and then after that, I guess it was history. So I just want to give God thanks. I want to give God thanks for all my co-workers, for those that put up with me over the years. I try to get along with everybody. I don't try to cause any problem. My supervisor, SE Monterey, I just, we work along together and we work good. Amen. All the co-workers throughout the years. Amen. Like Kevin said, I've been pretty much, I work in every parks in the county. Everywhere, doing, you just tell me what you need done, and I just go ahead and do it. So today I just want to thank each and every one, that come out to celebrate, this milestone of 40 years with the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would add that Donald and Cookie lost their home in Hurricane Milton, so they've had some misfortune.
Think so? Right, after 40 years.
We'll now take a public comment. The first request to speak form I have is from Charlie Bartholomew.
And while you're on your way up, we still have an election season, even though the commission's been decided. There are other races going on, and it's our policy, since we are in election season, that politicking is prohibited, which is defined as advocating the election or defeat of a candidate for public office, either partisan or nonpartisan. This includes the words, dates, signs, props, and/or wearing apparel that convey a message of support for a person or group of persons. Thank you.
Good morning.
You may start it. And you have 3 minutes, but the buzzer will sign when you have 15 seconds left. Yes, sir.
I'm here to represent myself. I hadn't planned on being here. But when I got back from the National Fiddle Festival, I got this registered letter saying from the county, and I had this sort of optimistic note that maybe we were going to get together and move forward on an issue that's been around for a few years. No, that's not what it was. It was a citation, or should I say half a citation. This citation has about 5 or 6 errors in it. It only lists, anyway, you could go down it, the phone number's incorrect, the driver's license is blank. I've engaged in a business, commencing or performing work without a license, blah, blah, blah. They only listed one parcel out of two, which were closed on simultaneously. But I'm not going to waste all that time there, because I'll tell you who I am. I'm a captain of 48 years on fishing boats. I've been a general manager of the Jib Club in Jupiter Island, total rebuild, working with Palm Beach County, flawlessly, seamlessly, with few problems. I'm a yacht broker of 26 years. I have a real estate license since 2002. I do consulting work now. I'm an author of a couple novels. I'm a blog contributor, a regulator boats. And from my 60s and 70s, I love to play music with my friends. That's who I am. This is absolutely not who I am. I have never picked up a brush. I have never hired a contractor to do work at this site. I am a friend of the applicants, plural. And so I decided to check this out, and that's where we are with that. But this problem has been around for 5 or 6 years with these applicants. And something that long with this kind of non-response and information kind of brings you into the picture, Mr. Donaldson. You kind of had game in this whole thing. Is there anything you'd like to share with the public regarding this, your familiarity with this issue?
I am not familiar with the issue that you're
You're
speaking
not?
of.
Well, maybe I can help you out and jog your memory a
Which
little
one
bit.
is?
Because I have a letter here that you wrote to the applicants saying that the lot, the one lot, was not a buildable lot. And that's why the dock couldn't be there. Well, my question to you is, how did the dock get there in 1948 as a sole standing dock on a general permit?
Sir, your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you. John Tellem is next, followed by Colleen Corcoran.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
I would like to thank the Commissioner Campy and John Galando for their steadfast interest in this situation.
Sir, your time is up. Thank you.
It will be in about 3 seconds. I'd just like to thank you guys for looking for facts, looking for clarity, and standing by the common law. Thanks a bunch.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Mr. Donaldson.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to file a formal complaint against Jeff Daughtry for corruption, malfeasance, and business interference legally. Mr. Campy, I'd like to thank you for your help. Mr. Donaldson, I came to you 5 years ago with a dock that was blown away in a hurricane to replace. You not only had a meeting, but you said you'd look into it. You haven't. It's been 5 years since I haven't been able to replace my dock. Hurricane season is coming, it's here. I've got a bunch of boats that are going to end up in somebody's backyard because this, whatever it is, has not been diligent in doing what they're supposed to do. And I would like, what else? I had a bunch of things on my mind. Did I mention it's been 5 years?
Yes.
Okay. Did I mention that, Mr. Donaldson? 5 years since you've been telling me that you were going to take care of it?
Sir, address the board.
I'm addressing you. You said you'd take care of it. You'd look into it. It's been 5 years.
I believe this matter has been resolved.
Oh, it hasn't. For you, it has. Not for me.
John, not the right approach.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Colleen Corcoran is next, followed by Victoria Blake.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
My name is Colleen Corcoran, and I volunteer and work with a magnificent volunteer organization I'm sure you're familiar with, Tent City Helpers. Each month, my congregation, the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist Church, provides funding so that myself and some fellow congregants can shop, cook, and distribute hot meals, homemade hot meals to approximately 50 to 70 unhoused neighbors in Martin County. I'm here today to urge this board to take decisive action on an escalating crisis, our lack of a designated shelter for the unhoused in Martin County. This is a deeply personal issue for me for two reasons. Not once, but twice in the past 6 years, I was at risk for foreclosure. I have 4 kids. It was a terrifying time, and fortunately, I was able to pull myself out of that situation. But my family and I have faced homelessness more than once. Even more disheartening, late last February, my good friend's father, an unhoused man in Martin County, suffered a police dog attack. The resulting injuries went septic, killing him. Traumatized by this preventable tragedy, along with many other contributing factors, my friend then took his own life in early June. As you're aware, with the enactment of House Bill 1365, public sleeping is now illegal. Without a designated shelter, we force our deputies into volatile, high-friction confrontations with vulnerable people, including many veterans, putting officers and citizens in harm's way. Criminalizing survival shifts the human crisis entirely onto our first responders, leading to devastating loss of life. Meanwhile, our county continuously supports real estate development and surveillance tools like flock camera networks. If we can allocate taxpayer dollars to monitor our streets, we must invest in basic human infrastructure that keeps those streets safe and humane. The legal roadmap under HB 1365 is straightforward. The board votes to designate a specific parcel of county or municipal-owned land for a shelter, 1. 2, if the chosen site falls within municipality of the city council passes a matching vote of concurrence. 3, the county submits a plan to the Florida Department of Children and Families to certify safety, sanitation, and security standards. And 4, the county partners with local nonprofits or faith-based providers to operate the facility. Following these 4 steps protects Martin County from lawsuits, relieves law enforcement, and prevents further tragic deaths. I urge this board to start this process immediately, and in the meantime to consider and procure some space for the Dignity Bus. Thank you.
Victoria Blake is next, followed by Susan O'Rourke.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Victoria Blake, and I represent Tent City Helpers. We go out every Monday and go to 6 different locations providing hot meals like Colleen did yesterday. You should have seen this meal. Fantastic. I'm telling you, it's hot out there, guys. Last Monday and yesterday, I've never sweat like that in my life. I'm telling you, in places I've never sweat before. I mean, it's hot out there. So I'm here to talk to you today about 3 solutions we've talked about many times. The first option is land. We need land, right? Second is a dignity bus. We've talked about that various times. And lastly, of course, we need a shelter. So since January, Tent City Helpers has served over 300 individual unhoused in Martin County. It costs the county, our tax dollars, $171,000 per person who is unhoused annually. That's an annual cost. So the revolving door of court costs, judge's time, jail costs, ambulance costs, hospital stays, equipment, drones, ATVs, and even helicopters, and the cost for police to hunt them down with dogs. I'm going to pause there for a second. Just listen to that again. We're hunting human beings down with dogs. It makes me sick to my stomach. Versus the cost of $10,000 to $13,000 a year per person annually if we had a shelter or to find them housing. We house some folks on a regular basis in Fort Pierce. And again, even Little Vero has a shelter. Martin County has nothing. So Governor DeSantis passed the bill, Bill 1365, which says it's illegal for people to sleep in public places, but it mandates that counties and municipalities designate specific areas for public camping or sleeping. By the way, Governor DeSantis' email, and I'm encouraging everybody to email. I'm going to put it all over the internet as much as I can. GovernorRon.DeSantis@eog.myflorida.com. If he mandated this bill, can we ask for state funding? Can we? I mean, he mandated the bill and Martin County is not compliant. Can we ask Governor DeSantis? Do we kind of get a nod or something? Perhaps? All right, so back to the land. We have found two property lands, 136,000 for 7,400 square lot on 45th Avenue, 150,000 square lot, 7,100 square lot with Kingfish Avenue in Stuart. Land to buy land. Back to the Dignity Bus. The Dignity Bus sleeps 20 with showers, bathrooms, and air conditioning. Can we say hallelujah? Commissioner DeCampi said you were going to reach out to Dignity Bus. As of this morning, they haven't heard from you, so we'd love if you could reach out to them. Other areas like Palm Bay and Orlando use the Dignity Buses. So please, I pray every day for some type of action, something. I'm going to keep coming back every 2 weeks until we have some type of resolution. They deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. So God bless each of you, and I play heavy on your heart that you'll do something, please. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Susan O'Rourke is next, followed by Frank McChrystal.
Okay, I think I'm allowed to talk since I lost, so tell me if I'm not. I'm Susan O'Rourke. Happy to be here. I recently participated in the election process, and I'm proud to have participated in the democratic process. During that process, I met a lot of people and made a lot of commitments if I was elected. I wanted to let you know that I'm going to keep those commitments as an unelected person on the sidelines. And some of the things that I talked about was assisting with updating the land development regulations as it related to transportation because they're outdated. I've done that, and I will get with someone in your department, Don, to get those changed as you all feel is appropriate. As to the conversations going on before me, one of the things that I talked about a lot was affordability, homelessness, and mental health in Martin County. I do have the time to look into that and get with people and put some information together, and perhaps that will assist getting the people in the community with you all on what would be appropriate in Martin County. So I look forward to the things I committed to in the first 100 days, doing them as on this side. So I appreciate it and look forward to working with you all.
Thank you. Frank McChrystal is next, followed by Ann Vandersteel.
For those who have a hard time reading between the lines, the topic of this 3 minutes is firing with cause versus firing without cause. In 2004, when I ran for county commissioner with about 3 days to go, my camp came to me and said, "We got him." And they showed me information that would bury my opponent's character, it would bury his family, it would bury his ability to ever get a job again in this world of meaning. And I instantly rejected any idea of using that in this political game. Jesus said, "Pick up your sword," and that sword is the truth. But there's a problem here. As Christian men, we'll only go so far in this political game. And to destroy another human being, another of God's creatures, to the point where they can never recover, we don't go there. We don't go there. And we all pay the price. We all pay the price for that every day. Now, if you want to see an example of how the other side rolls, how the atheists who view this world as there is no good, there is no evil, okay? There is no good, there is no bad. Everyone needs to watch the final 43 minutes of the city commission meeting last night, where you will see an atheist publicly embarrass a very, very good man. That's what you'll see. So in the end, Jesus says, pick up your sword, and that sword is the truth. But here's the thing. In the end, we all lose, but the instructions are to keep up the fight. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ann Vandersteel is next, followed by Maureen Steele.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I'm here to support a ban on hyperscale data centers in Martin County. It's not about the technology that I'm so concerned about at this point, but it's about the protection of the resources we have here in Florida. And I want to commend you all for doing the great job you have in keeping Martin County beautiful and trying to really work on keeping the overdevelopment in check. Hyperscale data centers consume an extraordinary amount of energy. They require large cooling systems, occupy hundreds of acres. They bring substations, transmission infrastructure, generators, roads, pavements, all this other industrial development into communities that were never designed for this scale of use. We have to ask a very simple question. What are we willing to sacrifice to power this AI intelligence economy? Our water, our farms, our ranches, our electric grid, our quiet communities, our aquifers, our privacy, our children's quality of life? Considering the water, we depend heavily on the groundwater, and if you have hundreds of acres of pasture, farmland, forest, and open space being replaced by roofs and asphalt, concrete, roads, and industrial infrastructure, rainfall no longer penetrates the groundwater the way it does today. It becomes stormwater runoff, less opportunity for natural groundwater recharge. Then there's electricity. These data centers require an enormous amount of power, and residents deserve to need to know who will pay for the new generation, the substations, the transmission lines, and other infrastructure. Florida families should not be near infrastructures bearing those costs while some of the richest technology companies in the world receive the benefit. Agriculture, farmland, and ranch land getting converted into industrial computing campuses, that land may never return to food production. We know about the beef problems right now. We can't manufacture more land. We cannot manufacture another aquifer. We should be growing our food, raising cattle, protecting our rural economy, and not replacing reproductive land with giant server farms. Then there's the noise, the cooling systems, the chillers, fans, transformers, and generators that operate 24/365. That means persistent tonal noise, low-frequency industrial noise that can become part of the environment. And then there's the surveillance state. Data centers are part of the physical infrastructure in an increasingly data-driven world. The flock safety cameras, for instance, the license plate readers, collecting all this information that's transmitted, stored, searched, and analyzed, a lot of times inappropriately so. So when you add all this together, it raises a very fundamental civil liberty question. Are we building an infrastructure that ultimately makes mass surveillance easier, cheaper, and more permanent? Because Floridians and Martin County residents need to know who possesses their data, how long it's retained, who can search it, who can share it, and whether government agencies can access it without meaningful judicial oversight. So in the end, I would like to consider a ban for hyperscale data centers here in the county to keep Florida's resources protected and our civil liberties and Fourth Amendment rights protected. Thank you all for what you do.
Thank you. Maureen Steele is next, followed by Dr. Diane Romeo.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm following up, Ann Vandersteel here regarding the hyperscale data centers. I think before Martin County decides whether hyperscale data centers belong here, we need to answer a much more fundamental question. What are we trying to preserve? Because once we answer that, the decision becomes remarkably simple. Martin County is not an industrial sacrifice zone. It is not an empty square on somebody's corporate expansion map. And our electricity, our water, our land, and our quality of life are not commodities waiting for the highest bidder. People came here and stayed here because this county still has something much of Florida has already lost, a sense of place. And you can see it here today. There's a small town feel to this county still. And once you destroy that, you can't get it back. A hyperscale data center isn't simply another building. These facilities can demand enormous amounts of electricity, substantial infrastructure, and depending upon their cooling system, significant water resources. They can bring transmission, infrastructure, generators, substations, and industrial development that will remain long after today's promises and projections have been forgotten. And for what? These aren't factories employing thousands of local families. Once operational, hyperscale facilities are highly automated, so we should ask a very simple question. Who gets the benefit and who carries the burden? If a multinational corporation receives the benefit while Martin County residents absorb the infrastructure, environmental pressure, utility demands, and permanent alteration of their community, that's not economic development, that's extraction. We've watched this happen all over Florida. One development gets approved, then another, and everyone is presented as an isolated decision until one morning, people look around and wonder where their Florida went. You are not merely deciding whether to approve data centers. You are deciding what Martin County will become. Progress doesn't mean saying yes to everything someone is willing to build. Sometimes progress means having the wisdom and the courage to say, not here, not this, not at this cost. Please protect the Martin County that people entrusted to you.
Thank you. Dr. Diane Romeo is next, followed by Gail Goldie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
A data center may look like an ordinary warehouse, but it's an industrial-scale facility containing thousands of computer servers operating 365 days a year. Keeping those servers operating can require enormous amounts of electricity, sophisticated cooling systems, water, and banks of generators capable of supplying power when necessary. Before allowing a facility of this magnitude to be built near homes and families, we believe one fundamental question must be answered. Can the developer demonstrate that this particular data center will not create unacceptable risk to the surrounding community? Data centers commonly use stationary combustion engines or turbines for primary backup power. The U.S. EPA specifically recognizes these as potential sources of air emission that may require regulation under the Clean Air Act. Excuse me. However, they are going to generate energy. Will they use small nuclear reactors? If they use diesel combustion, this can produce nitrogen oxide, particulate matter, and other pollutants. Research has shown that large banks of diesel backup generators can affect air quality near the data center. For nearby residents, commissioners should know exactly what pollutants they will emit. Will the air quality be the same at the nearest homes and worse at the furthest homes? Water is another important concern. Depending upon the cooling technology used, data centers can consume substantial amounts of water. Large cooling systems, generators, electrical equipment, construction activity, and increased traffic will also create noise and other disturbances. These impacts are especially important when an industrial facility is being proposed near established residential communities. Residents should not have to discover these consequences after the project has been approved and built. Adding another major industrial operation to an established community deserves careful consideration. My request to the commissioners, the burden should be on the developer to provide independent, credible evidence demonstrating that the proposed facility will not create unacceptable impacts on air quality, water resources, noise level, electrical infrastructure, property values, and public health, or the overall quality of the life surrounding residents. Once a project of this magnitude is constructed, some consequences may be difficult, expensive, or even impossible to reverse. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail Goldie is next, followed by Yamila. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. It's great to be here, and it's great to see everyone so bright and bushy-tailed this morning. This is just a little follow-up on the data center, and this is about how water gets contaminated. Data centers can discharge or leak chemical pollutants into local water systems if wastewater is poorly managed or treated. Data center cooling systems require chemical additives to prevent system corrosion, mineral scaling, and algae or bacteria growth. When this water is discharged, often called blowdown water, or if leaks occur, it can produce several substances into the environment. Chemical additives, biocides, chlorine compounds, and corrosion inhibitors are added to cooling loops and can remain in wastewater. Forever chemicals. Some specialized coolants or non-water liquid cooling setups may contain PFAS or fluorinated F-gases. Heavy metals. Trace amounts of copper, zinc, and lead can leach into the water as internal metal components degrade. Concentrated minerals evaporated. Cooling causes natural minerals and total dissolved solids in the water to concentrate to much higher levels. You know, we're talking about something that is in the future, these data centers. Data centers are causing so much anxiety and health issues already before they're even built and used. A lot of people are worried and concerned, and rightfully so. So I think that as commissioners, it's imperative that you do your homework, you listen, and you dig very, very deep to find out exactly what the repercussions of having data centers would be and how harmful it could be to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Yamila is next, followed by James Fishback, and Mr. Fishback is the last request to speak form I have.
The Fishback that ran for governor?
Good morning.
Good morning. Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
My name is Yamila Royan Escalona. You already know who I am, the Executive Director of Yaya Por Vida, serving your Martin County residents. Before I continue, though, out of respect, I kindly ask that y'all put down your phones and listen actively. Just saying. I also want to recognize that aside from myself in this audience today are subject matter experts from Tent City Helpers and people with lived experience who are directly impacted by the housing plans you are about to discuss today, especially as we are in the midst of Overdose Awareness Week. We should be consulted on this. The LHAP governs Martin County's SHIP programming for the next 3 years. These are the funds that are meant to address the housing crisis we see on our streets every single day. Yet I haven't seen anything in the revised exhibits indicating that people with lived experience were involved in shaping these procedures. I want to flag 2 things. First, we did promise that we were going to file the FOIA, which we did last week, asking for a full opioid abatement fund spend breakdown from the MCSO. On the state's own website, MCSO received another massive award under prevention. We need to know exactly what that money was spent on, because if it went to surveillance cameras instead of housing and overdose response, that is a misuse of funds and a violation of the spirit of the settlement. Second, Human Services is the lowest funded department in this budget. I mentioned it last time. There is no shelter line item. The LHAP governs how housing funds are allocated, and if grassroots organizations like ours, Tent City Helpers, and people with lived experience are not at the table when these plans are written, then the plans do not reflect the community's needs. I'm asking this board to do 3 things before approving the 2026 to 2029 LHAP. 1, hold a public workshop outside of the previous budget workshops already held where constituents can review the exhibits and provide proper input. 2, convene a lived experience panel, invite the unhoused individuals and outreach workers in this room to advise on SHIP funds allocation priorities. 3, wait for the FOIA results that we have asked for from the MCSO in regards to the opioid abatement fund spending before finalizing any housing-related budget items. These are all 3-year plans. The community deserves more than just a rubber stamp from y'all. We're here, we're ready to help. Use us and consider opening this item for additional discussion, which, Kiampi, thank you for that. Hopefully we are talking about it today, as we pulled it for regular agenda. We're here to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you. James Fishback is next, and Mr. Fishback is the last request to speak form. If you would like to address us, please fill out a request to speak form and get it to the bailiff. Good morning.
Well, good morning.
Morning.
I've spent the last 9 months crisscrossing every last corner of the state and spent 2 visits here holding town halls in Martin County. And I can tell you there is a real frustration with the prospect of a data center being built here. We can talk at length about how it would drive up electric bills, how it would jeopardize the water supply. But oftentimes we should go to square one. Why a data center in the first place? Oftentimes, questioning every last assumption can get us closer to the truth. Not his version of the truth or her version of the truth, certainly not they-them's version of the truth, but the truth singular. My grandfather was a professor at Florida Atlantic University for 20 years in computer science. And when he was building computers back in the 1970s and 80s, they would occupy rooms like this. Then the breakthrough of the 90s was a computer could sit on a desk. Then that same computer could go in your pocket. And now it can exist on a watch. We have to ask ourselves, despite all of the drawbacks of data centers, are there really any upsides? Are there upsides to build a data center that we're now being told the internet won't work unless there's a 2 million square foot facility built just outside of our neighborhood? Netflix, email, ChatGPT will suddenly shut down unless Martin County residents accept higher electric bills, lower water pressure, and lower property values. It is incumbent upon this commission to ask those questions, to ask why. We know the downsides of a data center, but the upsides that are being spun by both the left and the right on a data center being necessary when we already have 12 times as many data centers in this country than China does. When we are told that there's an AI arms race between the United States and China, even though the average American couldn't name a Chinese AI company, while we have NVIDIA, OpenAI, X, and Anthropic. We have to remember that the same speculative excesses that drove us off a cliff during the 07-08 bubble seem to be at work today. And so before we drone on about the obvious drawbacks of data centers, it makes sense to question whether there is any real upsides and whether the same obsolescence that came for large-scale warehouse computers, that then came for desktop computers, that made computational technology smaller and more efficient, whether the data centers of today that claim necessity may be obsolete tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioners, is there interest in having a presentation on a moratorium on data centers? Commissioner Campy.
Thank you very much. Interesting morning. Obviously, we had no idea who was going to come and speak on what topics. The concept and the conversation of data centers has been, obviously, everyone's been hearing about it. So I had begun my research and homework, if you will. I reached out to the Florida Association of Counties to find out what are other counties in the state doing? Where would we fall sort of in the timeline? And the information that I received back, and I wanted to thank Ginger Delegal and her staff for helping me put this together. They sent a really comprehensive spreadsheet that I will share with my colleagues and Mr. Donaldson. Current moratorium, 67 counties in Florida. Current counties with moratoriums, 19. Counties that have outright banned data centers, 7. Counties that are either in consideration or have the moratorium pending, 12. Counties that have taken no action, meaning they have yet to get to the point, 26. And counties that have discussed the issue of a moratorium and/or a ban and rejected it, 3. That gets you to the 67. So if you do the simple math, there are 38 counties that either have one, have banned it, or are considering banning it. Not banning it, having the moratorium. All of us, we just heard some very compelling arguments this morning, and obviously there's no one here for the other side of the issue, if you will. And I believe, like almost every topic, there are 2 sides, maybe 3, the left, right, their side, your side, and the middle. So I'm not opposed, and had planned on bringing this up this morning anyway. So it's sort of kismet that I would make a motion to request that our staff bring an item forward that would research and study the effects of the data centers in unincorporated Martin County, what they would mean for our environment, what they would mean for our economy, and what they would mean for societally. I'm not saying that it is something that we would never do, but I think it is a fresh, new topic that most people are still trying to wrap their brains around. I think there's a lot of misinformation that is out there. I always say, no matter what the topic is, I always believe that it's much easier to scare people than it is to reassure them. So with that in mind, as one of the 5, I'm interested in hearing more about the process. But in the meantime, I think it's appropriate that we sort of just take a pause to legitimately do what a lot of our speakers asked us to do. Research it. research it on your own. We can research it as a community. We can research it as, community organizations, and then we'll find our way. I thought the last speaker was very articulate when he's asking us, let's look at the benefits of a data center. I'm not a data center expert, but we know them. And I think that there's a lot of information that is presented on social media platforms that, even if it looks tremendously compelling, might not be specifically accurate. So all I'm asking is that we ask staff to bring forward that issue so that we can sort of calm the discourse down. Let the community, like-minded people can disagree, but I don't think there's a lot of data center experts out there. It's a relatively new phenomenon. I'm willing to listen and have an open mind in the conversation, so that would be my motion.
Commissioner Vargas.
I'm glad this was brought up this morning because this is chunker block full of talking points. I've been studying data centers since I came into office, which is, early 2025. That's why I attend the conferences for the FAC, Florida Association of Counties, National Association of Counties also. I did meet an expert there, a fellow commissioner from Loudoun County, Virginia, which is the epicenter of data centers. I have looked at numerous webcasts, spoken with individuals individually to get their opinion, and then maybe there's somebody else's opinion. But really, what is the truth about this? I think that all of the speakers that addressed data centers were very articulate. They had their facts in order. They are not fear-mongering. This is an unknown, and this is something that could change the look and the feel of our county forever. So I was going to ask also that we take a hard pause on data centers. This is the courageous thing to do. We're not being pulled in this direction by other masters. I work for the people of Martin County. I do. So therefore, I am still doing my homework, and I will not give up on this until I'm absolutely certain. And I'm so far from being certain at this point. It's an ongoing discussion. We need to have a moratorium, a hard pause.
Commissioner Heatherington.
Thank you. I agree with Commissioner Campy, outlined some comments where I would second your motion to have a presentation and bring us all of the information. And I would add that in that presentation, we outlined, because there's been a lot of talk about SB 484 and what regulatory authority counties and cities have in regulating land use, compatibility, and environmental impacts, those things, and what it doesn't grant. I would also ask you to bring back during the presentation any kind of limitations that SB 180 has in the impact or or a moratorium per se. And then I would also ask that we bring back some information. One thing I actually have been reading, and if you followed Florida Power and Light's rate case and some of the implementations, which have not, I give them a lot of credit because this has not been done all throughout the country. And Florida Power and Light really did, when they were when they were doing this rate case, they put a large load user tariff on so that large load users for energy pay their way. So I think that would be important to include because I think that's an important educational fact for the community to hear about. Thank you.
Commissioner Capps.
As I understand Commissioner Campy's motion, it's basically a motion to bring forth research and information. And while that is very laudable, I think the motion should be stronger than that. And I know there's a motion and a second.
Wait, let me clarify my motion then, please.
Okay, go ahead.
I must have missed the point for some folks. I didn't know if legally we can take an unagendaed item and ask for a moratorium today. I was trying to be appropriate to say I want staff to bring forward an agenda item for a moratorium. Giving us the opportunity to have that year to then bring forward the experts and the opinions and have it. But we have to push the pause button first. I don't want it to be freewheeling while we're doing this. I want a moratorium for 1 year. A majority of the counties in Florida either have it or will. That's my point. I know sometimes we get ourselves into trouble when we say, I make a motion that we have a moratorium. I want our legal staff to have the opportunity to bring forward an agenda item for a moratorium that gives us that 1 year opportunity to hear these things and to understand more carefully. This is, we're not subject matter experts up here. There's not a lot of them, but I'm interested in hearing from them. But in the meantime, before this thing gets sideways, I'm interested in a pause, which the word they're using is moratorium. A couple of the counties had different phraseology for it. That's what I want. And then we can enter into the conversation. I don't want to be chasing the car as it goes down the road. That's what I meant.
Commissioner Capps.
Could we clarify that just a little bit more by saying that you're making a motion to have the county attorney prepare an ordinance or a resolution to have a 1 year moratorium? Is that basically the same thing as you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, I'll support that.
One other thing I wanted to add, it's not hard and fast 1 year. If we have to continue looking at more information, because this is an evolving subject. I do not get my information from social media, especially something as serious as this. I go to the experts. There are plenty of experts that are out there, but you have to do your homework, and you really can't be lax. Talking about our commission. You got to reach out, go to the conferences, talk to people. They're out there.
Commissioner Hetherington.
Yes, my question would be to the county attorney. Does SB 180, now, I completely agree with the presentation, but if you shape it as the word moratorium, I believe that SB 180, and I would look to you to provide legal counsel, it expressly says moratoriums of any type of construction, reconstruction are prohibited in the affected zone. So I would cautiously, before we brought back, I would rather have a presentation that didn't have the word moratorium in there because of the language in SB 180.
So we can dissect that at the next agenda item, but just generally speaking, Senate Bill 180 does restrict counties, but Senate Bill 484 was enacted after Senate Bill 180, and in there's language that says that the legislature intends that such considerations shall be addressed through local comprehensive planning and land development regulations, and it encourages local governments to enact legislation or ordinances for data centers. So if you read the two bills together, the latter one usually would kind of provide an avenue for local governments to do the moratorium. That's what most of the counties who have enacted moratoriums are relying on, that the second bill says we can do this. But we can dissect that more and talk about it at the agenda item.
So are you saying that SB 484 overrides SB 180 and allows for a moratorium on data centers?
It doesn't say that specifically, but the argument would be if we did get sued and went to court, that you have to read the bills together concurrently. And Senate Bill 180 would make Senate Bill 484 meaningless, basically, if it contradicted it. So again, I would have to look into the issue, dissect it, but that's the general consensus. There is still a slight chance that someone can sue under Senate Bill 180, but there are arguments also in favor of the moratorium. It's a gray area. It's not clear by the legislation, honestly.
So then, with that, I would rather hear a presentation on what can and can't be done and not have a motion. So I'll withdraw my second because I would rather have a presentation and not a motion that directs us to move into a moratorium?
So if we do an ordinance on a moratorium, it would require 2 public hearings also, most likely under the statute, because you're changing the permitted uses in a zoning category. So it would require 2 public hearings on the ordinance, so.
And you'll bring back both the information on SB 484 and SB 180?
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Capps.
I will second Commissioner Campy's motion.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
That motion passes 4-1 with Commissioner Heatherington dissenting. Thank you. We will now take up our 9:30 preset, which is a 4-H presentation on protecting our land. Mr. Hafner, you want to introduce this item? Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Hurd, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is David Hafner, and I'm your University of Florida IFAS Martin County Extension 4-H agent. Today, the Martin County 4-H is proud to share the result of a partnership between the Smithsonian Institution and Martin County 4-H. This program is called the Stories 4-H History. Through this program, our youth were challenged to look at their own community through a different lens, not simply as a place where they live, but a community with history, important stories, and people who have helped shape its future. Our youth selected a local story, conducted research, developed interview questions, and spoke with members of our community who could help them understand that story. Along the way, they learned about local history, civic engagement, interviewing, research, storytelling, and the importance of listening to different perspectives. Most importantly, they learned that history isn't just something found in a textbook. History is being created every day by the people in our own community. The project culminated in the video you're about to see. It represents the research, conversations, and experiences of our 4-H members as they work to tell a story that they felt was important to Martin County. As you watch, I encourage you to look beyond the finished product and consider what these young people learned through the process. Following the video, 2 of our youth participants will share what they learned through participating in the Stories 4-H History Project.
Thank you.
Martin County has long been known for its open spaces, farms, and ranch lands. But as development continues to grow, more of this land is at risk of disappearing. This raises an important question. How can we preserve the land that supports our environment, wildlife, and local history? Agriculture has been an important part of Martin County's landscape for generations. Today, the county still contains nearly 180,000 acres of farmland across about 588 farms. Some of this land is not being protected through conservation programs. For example, Bullhammock Ranch, a cattle ranch of more than 5,800 acres, was recently approved for a conservation easement, ensuring the land will remain open while continuing to operate as a working ranch. To learn more about agriculture's role in land preservation, we spoke with Mr. Wes Carlton at Bullhammock Ranch. Would you mind introducing yourself?
My name's Wes Carlton, owner of Bullhammock Ranch.
Could you tell us a little bit about conservation efforts that happen on Bullhammock Ranch?
Bullhammock has several different conservation efforts. The first one was a water project on the east side of the ranch. Encompasses about 2,000 acres of water storage on natural wetlands, natural footprint. And then we did about a 70-acre water reservoir here that captures off-site water. And then Bullhammock Ranch just recently also did a perpetual easement of what you see today, what it looked like forever.
Could you tell us about some of the environmental practices on your ranch?
25 years ago, 30 years ago maybe, a group of us got together and created the first BMP manual for the state of Florida, and it was for cattle. And that since has gone through many revisions. And now there's BMPs for citrus, golf, herb, forestry, vegetables, and it's reviewed by FDACS, Department of Agriculture, and DEP, Department of Environmental Protection.
Could you explain the importance of this land being preserved?
It breaks my heart to see what's happened on the state lands. It's just an exotic wasteland of pepper trees and Kogan grass. My motto has always been, I wanted to look better when I leave than when I took charge. So Thank you. Nice having you.
After speaking with Mr. Wes Carlton, we saw how conservation easements can protect working lands from development while making it possible for a ranch to remain productive. To better understand how land is preserved in Martin County, we spoke with Michael Houston, a senior project manager in the Martin County Environmental Research Division. Thank you for meeting with me. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, absolutely. And thank you for coming down to interview me today. My name is Michael Houston. I am a senior project manager in the Martin County Environmental Resource Division. And my job through this process is I help to shepherd properties from being nominated and submitted for potential acquisition through our process to get them approved for sales tax funding.
So what factors do the ELOC consider when deciding what lands to prioritize? Just lands that are available?
So when we originally set up the sales tax initiative, we wrote a manual and established procedures for how lands would go from being nominated to being approved for acquisition. And in that, it included having environmental assessments done from a group called the Florida Natural Areas Inventory, who works with the state land conservation programs to acquire their conservation lands. So they would do environmental assessments that we have a citizen advisory board that then reviews and evaluates those properties and makes recommendations in terms of whether or not we should acquire the lands or not, and kind of ranks and prioritizes by how environmentally sensitive and how much value it had. They had 16 properties that they evaluated, 10,000 acres. Based on that, we now have a list that got approved by the county commissioners, and now we're going out to acquire those properties. So it's a whole process to get us to the point where we can even make offers and try and acquire these lands.
So in your opinion, which land is better to preserve, agricultural or native lands?
I wouldn't really speak to that. They all have values in different ways. You know, conservation lands are important because they protect native wild habitat and keep native habitats native. But these agricultural areas are also important because they help to protect wildlife corridors. You're still having conservation values on these properties as well. So that's a tough thing to come out and say what one preference would be or another.
Thank you for meeting with me. Speaking with Michael Houston gave us a much clearer understanding of how land preservation works in Martin County and the process required to protect these lands for the future. Preserving land is not only important for agriculture, but also for protecting natural ecosystems and wildlife habitats. To learn more about why conserving natural lands matters, we spoke with Merritt Matheson. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Merritt Matheson. I'm one of the members of the Environmental and Oversight Committee.
Could you explain a little bit about what the Indian River Keeper is?
So the Indian River Keeper is part of a worldwide organization of Waterkeepers Alliance. We're a nonprofit group of volunteers which work to protect water quality.
What are the benefits of preserving land?
Preserving land is critical for the health not only of that land, but of waterways all around us.
What are the biggest threats that impact the Indian River Lagoon?
So some of the biggest threats here are non-natural discharges from Lake Okeechobee. So any discharge from Lake Okeechobee wouldn't naturally come into this estuary. Some of the other problems are really seagrass degradation. Your seagrass helps hold down the sediment on the bottom of the lagoon, and it also helps filter out too much nutrients by its habitat, juvenile fish, and food. If you lose your immune system in a water body, it takes hits from storm events, from discharges from Lake Okeechobee, and those hits are harder on the lagoon in and of itself, and it's kind of a cascading effect down. So really focusing on water quality, letting seagrass rebound, helps ensure clean water throughout the lagoon.
How has the Indian River Lagoon changed from when you started with the Indian River Keepers?
The lagoon has changed. We've lost significant amounts of seagrass. They have problems with water quality, and we have problems with muck layers throughout in your lagoon, which kind of form an anaerobic layer where nothing can really grow. Seagrass can't get established. It's almost like an ooze. So the Indian River Lagoon has changed significantly over my lifetime.
What are the things people can do to protect the Indian River Lagoon and other waterways?
Helping protect our waterways can easily start with small changes. We encourage residents to not use fertilizers on their logs during the wet season, starting June 1st and lasting till about the end of November. Obeying no wake zones cause too much turbidity in the area and harm seagrass not to run your prop through a grass bed. Get out of the boat, walk it carefully off a grass plat.
After talking with Merritt Matheson, we came away with a better understanding of how much natural lands do for Martin County. He showed us that protecting these spaces means protecting the wildlife, ecosystems, and natural balance of the community. Through this project, we learned that land preservation in Martin County depends on many different people working together. Farmers, ranchers, environmental staff, and conservation groups each play a different role in protecting the land, wildlife, and natural spaces that shape our community. Agriculture is not only part of Martin County's history, but also part of its future. Preserving working lands helps protect open spaces while allowing the land to continue serving an important purpose. As members of our community, we can use our voices by learning about local issues, asking questions, and sharing what we discover with others. As America marks 250 years of independence, this project is a reminder that communities have always been shaped by people who stay informed, get involved, and work to protect what matters most.
That was excellent. Very nice.
Glancy, and
Would you come closer to the mic? Thank you.
my name is Kayla Glancy, and as you saw, I mainly played the role of interviewer during our video project this year. I would have to say that one of the things I learned most about was how to be adaptable and change my plan as I went, but I also learned a lot about how to communicate professionally and in the most efficient way possible. I'm especially grateful for the opportunity I got to actually set up one of the interviews we did, as that was what truly allowed me to develop these skills. Furthermore, I spent a lot of time researching the process through which land is preserved here in Martin County this year, and I learned just how simple it can be for an idea to turn into an initiative and how I can get involved in the things that are important to me. In the future, I'm hoping to further develop these skills by taking on leadership roles through 4-H. And in the next year of this project, I'm hoping to take on a new role through the video project to allow my peers to learn in the same way I did and develop a new set of skills. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Very good.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Ian Brissenden, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to let me speak in front of you today. I mainly worked on the editing and production of this video. After filming the interviews, I went through all the footage and started putting the video together. There's a lot of footage to go through, so I had to decide which parts of the interviews to use, which questions were worth including, and how to organize everything. From there, I worked on the music, audio, visuals, and the final edit. I've edited for a while, but most of my previous work has been quite different from this. I hadn't worked much on long-form interviews or documentary-style videos, so this gave me experience with an area of production that was new to me. Before this project, I also didn't know much about land preservation, but through the interviews and research we did, I learned about the importance of conservation easements and the role agricultural land can have in limiting future development. And because we were interviewing people who are directly involved with this in Martin County, we were able to learn about how it works locally. I can see myself using the skills and knowledge I gained from this project in the future, especially when it comes to interviews and longer form video. It gave me a chance to take the editing and production work I already do and apply it in a different setting, while also being able to contribute to our community. Thank you, Commissioners, for your time and for the opportunity to share our project with you.
Thank you.
Very professional.
So I think one of the most powerful things about this project is that our young people didn't simply learn about Martin County, they connected with it. This was them leading. They created this. This was them picking the topic. This was them developing the research, the questions with my guidance, but this is their project. They met people who had invested their time and knowledge to making this community what it is today, and they began to understand that they too have a responsibility and an opportunity to contribute. The story's 4-H history reminded our youth that they don't have to wait until they're adults to make a difference. They are already part of the Martin County difference right now. And as 4-H, that's exactly what we hope to accomplish, helping young people understand where they come from, recognize the role they play today, and become the leaders who will help shape where our community goes tomorrow. Just wanted to add two last things. One, it was heard by Commissioner Hurd when we were choosing the ELOC. Immediately when agriculture was brought up, who's going to represent agriculture on the ELOC? 4-H came out immediately. And I took that, and as it was very important to me, I was very proud that 4-H was brought up. So these members have attended meetings. They are involved in that process. So 4-H is definitely on that board. And then 2, these kids did such a great job. This project is judged and critiqued by the educators at the Smithsonian. They had received very high scores, and they have been requested to present at a couple different conferences that the Smithsonian is putting on. So this is being recognized nationally.
It's a great job. Very professional.
Commissioner Campy.
Thank you, David. First off, Miss, I thought even while I was watching the video that your questions were perfect, really like probing. And sir, as I was watching it, you put her up in the corner so we could see her talking, but you still kept, and then you were using some split screen techniques that I have no idea how you did it, but I did notice it. So my request to Mr. Donaldson, if it's okay with the content creators that produce this, is there any way that we can run their video on Channel 20, on the Martin County Television Channel? Because I thought, beyond it being your project, I thought it was, we get an opportunity to hear lots of people explain this process and how important it is, and I thought yours was concise, clear, entertaining, informative. So if you're willing to share it, we would love to put it on Channel 20.
Is it proprietary?
No.
Excellent.
They can go there.
So professional, so mature. It's
Yes.
just lovely. We're very, very proud of you.
Very well done. Congratulations.
Thank you. Commissioners will now take up commissioner comments. Commissioner Hetherington.
Yes. I wanted to first congratulate Commissioner Hurd on reelection this year, and also I will be turning the page and moving on to a different part of my life, and it's been my pleasure and honor to serve for the last 8 years here. I will be here until November. We will be working diligently with our constituents in District 2. I'll congratulate Christopher Collins, who will be my successor in November, and thank all of the candidates who put themselves out there to run. I remember the first time, I've actually been on both sides of the coin. I've won and I've lost. And the first year that I ran, I was not successful, and I said, I will never do that again. And here I am, 8 years later, so 12 years total. So thank you to the candidates who put themselves out there, because it is not an easy process campaigning. And so congratulations to all. Also, congratulations to our City of Stuart candidates who were successful, as well as the Village of Indiantown. So congratulations, and I look forward to working with all of you now until November, and afterward on the private side.
Commissioner Campy.
Thank you very much. First off, I'd like to thank Commissioner Hetherington for her years of service. I know that deciding to not run again is a big deal, but with, I was going to say 2 young sons, I guess in the scheme of things, they're still very young, but I knew them when you originally showed up. They were children, and now they're young men. So, and I know you have a remarkable policy of traveling all over the world with them, so I look forward to seeing how you continue to do that. Commissioner Hurd, congratulations. I think most people realize, but if they don't, Commissioner Hurd will now become the longest-serving Martin County Commissioner in Martin County history, which is no small feat. So congratulations to you on your reelection, and also now obtaining that milestone, which is literally remarkable that you would dedicate so much of your life to the service of our community. So good for you. Yes, to the folks that have run and did not win, it's a process. You really have to put yourself out there for people to decide on how they want to vision the community. So for the folks that did it and were not successful, I thought that Ms. O'Rourke this morning, when you came forward to say that you would still be willing to commit to some of the things that you promised on the campaign trail, I have never heard any candidate ever do that, that was not successful, ever do that. I think it must be the theme this year because John Dial, who was Commissioner Hurd's opponent in the race, one of them, had mentioned something similar. But for you to come this morning and publicly commit to that, I thought that was very interesting and admirable, so thank you. You're a content expert, so to get your experiences and your professionalism as a generous donation, good for you. That's sort of the positive and the happy news. I have, on occasion, felt that this is an appropriate platform to recognize members of our community. Sadly, sometimes it's when they have passed away. This week, we had lost, the Martin County community had lost a giant. If you know him, then you know him. Ronald L. Corbin was the musical director of Opus, Outstanding People United in Song. It's the Martin County High School choral group. Anyone that's gone through his program or who had children who've gone through the program, he was way more than a teacher, way more than an instructor. He has had a 40-year career in music. He had been at Martin County High School for decades, and even though he was the choral and opus director, he timed the basketball games, he timed volleyball games, he worked in the announcing booth at Martin County High School football games. Even after his retirement, he continued to come to every event. He made Martin County students award-winning. He has turned out some really unbelievable professionals in the industry. They've traveled all over the world, and I think when he retired, it was a great loss for the system, but now that he has sadly passed away, I believe too young. He had some really serious medical issues for the last several years. It's a terrible loss, and I know that the people that have had the opportunity to share his mentoring will never forget him, and either will I. He was remarkable, and I wish his daughter and those that cared about him my condolences. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Capps.
I also want to begin by mentioning another individual that we have lost in our community. His name is Mark Budenseek, and he was a big figure in District 3 down in Hobe Sound. He is the sheriff's cousin, and he lost his battle with cancer at a rather early age in his late 50s, and he will be greatly missed by people all over Martin County, and particularly in Hobe Sound. I want to thank him for his service to our sheriff's department and to the corrections department, and to thank him for his impact in our community. I also want to congratulate Commissioner Hurt for another election, and it's a remarkable thing to be elected 7 times for local office, and that's really remarkable. I look forward to working with you in the coming days. I also want to congratulate Commissioner-elect Chris Collins and wish him the very best as he prepares to join us on the dais. I want to thank candidates who were not successful. I too know what it's like to lose an election and to win an election. And I'll offer a word of encouragement. After the dust settles, you'll begin to appreciate the experience, even though you didn't come out on the top in that particular election. You'll begin to reflect on all that you learned on the campaign trail, all the people that you met, and you'll still be grateful that you did it. I also want to address one other issue. We heard a harrowing story this morning about how a Hobe Sound resident nearly lost her life at the railroad crossing on Bridge Road in Hobe Sound, and how this young man, Josiah Bauer, stepped in and saved her. And then this past Thursday, Something even worse happened in District 3. A train collision with a car at the railroad crossing on Cross Rip Street in Hobe Sound. Thankfully, the two elderly occupants of the car jumped out of the car just in time to save their lives before the collision. But the impact with the train spun the car around, causing the car to strike the man as he was running for his life. Our prayers are with this man and his wife for a full recovery. The 5 crossings in Hobe Sound are uniquely dangerous crossings in Martin County because of their close proximity to Dixie Highway that prevents the stacking of cars on the approach to the crossings. This board has recognized this unique danger by applying for federal grants for additional safety measures at these 5 crossings. And I want to briefly explain what these additional safety measures will be. There are 4 of them. The first one is intersection traffic lights at the 2 crossings that do not currently have intersection traffic lights. And those are Cross Rip Street, where this accident just happened, and also Gleason Street. And then number 2, a thing called a pre-signal. These are additional red lights on a pole on the side of the road on the east side of the tracks, so that people approaching the railroad tracks have an additional red light like right in their face. And then number 3, a thing called a signal preemption. And this is for the person who finds themselves on the tracks with the gates down in front of them and behind them. And what happens is there's a sensor in the tracks that makes the intersection light turn green immediately. And the gate in front of the trapped car goes up, enabling it to clear the tracks. That's called signal preemption. And then number 4, there's a thing called second train coming lights. And these are for pedestrians. There's a flashing light on the sidewalk that goes off when 2 trains could be coming from opposite directions at the same time. And it is my belief that these extra safety measures at the 5 crossings in Hobe Sound will indeed improve the safety at these crossings, and we look forward to seeing this work done.
Thank you. Commissioner Vargas.
Congratulations to you,
Thank
which I
you.
said earlier, and I know that that this has been a long road. You have covered a lot of topics. You're a wealth of information, and I listen intently when you speak, especially about the love of Martin County. So just want to say that, and have a wonderful 4-year ride. I also want to congratulate Chris Collins for throwing his hat in the ring to join us here on the DI. I'm looking forward to working with him also. And Mr. Rourke, I applaud you also. You are a traffic expert engineer, having your own business, I believe, before. And certainly whatever hand you can give us here at Martin County would be greatly appreciated. And we really appreciate you continuing forward. I've been on both sides also, so I just want to put that out there. But anyway, something else I want to talk, a couple of things I want to talk about. I want to continue what Commissioner Capps did mention about the crossings, the railroad crossings. Jensen Beach is the #1 most dangerous crossing in Martin County. So we're 2 bookends here, all the way down south in that district, and of course, the northernmost district that we have here. And what I did when I saw that this was such a situation, and again, this goes back to last year, I've been working on it. It'll be almost about a year now. We're moving crosswalks to the middle of Jensen Beach that is in the downtown area rather than having it right at the roundabout, which did not make sense. We want to have safety for our citizens that are walking about. on visiting our area. I'm also looking at the lighting. These are already in studies. They've already been planned. So we're putting additional lighting right at the railroad area with the intersection. Again, this goes east and west on Jensen Beach Boulevard, giving a lot of consideration to landscaping that does not obstruct the east and westbound traffic and that movement. In addition to that, signage. We're also making one way on Maple Street, so there's no confusion coming out of Ocean Breeze. So there's a lot of thought being given to that particular intersection, and I'm terribly sorry to hear about that incident this morning. I did reach out to Vicki Davis, and I wanted to find out what the voter turnout was. Statewide turnout for this primary was at 25.26%. 25.26% statewide. Indian River was 2905, Martin County was 28.94, and St. Lucie County 24.02. We really need to step up. Talk to everyone. Get registered. If you are, get out to vote. There were a lot of races that were decided in this primary, and possibly some people thought they had until the general election to finally make their decision, and this was not the case. So it is a privilege, it is a right. I've lived in other countries, they don't have this. Let's exercise, please. Let's do this for the future. Something else I wanted to talk about also is that I want this board to move to reconsider the decision on agenda item 26-1044, the Article 10 appeal considered. That was at our August 11th, 2026 Board of Commissioners meeting. The county has since discovered that the applicant provided false information during the administrative review meeting that was conducted by this board. So I want to pause this decision. This applicant needs to get rezoning on 1 acre. He also talked about paying real estate taxes in the amount of $267,000, when in fact that wasn't the case. He paid probably about $60 in taxes, not disputing that. But we have to have accurate and truthful information. The other thing that was a big question, and some of our commissioners did ask the applicant, did you contact DEP? He denied doing so because he needs a submerged land lease with DEP, so he would have to contact them, not deal with Martin County. But this was not the case either. This was contrary. So I think the previous decision needs to be null and void, because the thing is that we need to withdraw this because this applicant needs to go for 1 acre zoning. And the thing is that we have so much information that's provided to us written. We also speak with our personnel, our county manager, our county attorney, our department heads, and obviously if we want to go and take a look at property, we can see what it looks like out in the field. So I just want to know what the consequences are for this decision, Ms. Elder, our county attorney, and we need to ask the applicant to request the appropriate zoning for this land use.
So if the board reconsiders their decision from the last board meeting, it basically stays the board action, and staff would contact the applicant and either reschedule the Article 10 appeal, or we could try to work out a resolution with the applicant. So that would be the outcome. The board's prior action would be stayed. The matter would be reopened.
Okay. So rather than going through I think it was a 2.5 hour discussion, which is fine. How about working with the applicant and stating that he does need rezoning for his 1 acre? Now, insofar as a dock, whether it's a floating dock or a stationary dock, that's something he has to deal with DEP. This has nothing to do with Martin County. Is that correct?
Well, the dock has nothing to do with Martin County. That is correct. We can ask the applicant to work it out with staff. We can't force him, so he has the opportunity to come back if he wants to before this board for another Article 10 review meeting. But we can definitely reach out to him and see if we can work it out. But if you do a motion for reconsider, During this motion, the board can only discuss reconsidering. We can't discuss the merits of the Article 10 appeal, just for clarification. And if the board votes to reconsider, the prior action is stayed, and then we would reach out to the applicant about moving forward.
Therefore, I make a motion that the previous decision on August 11th be stayed and request that the applicant come before us again to discuss this, or if he chooses to work with our personnel, but based on the fact that he can build his home, but he needs rezoning on that 1 acre.
Commissioner Capps.
Just for clarity, that means a motion to reconsider, right? That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Second.
There's a motion for reconsideration. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Anything else? I want to thank Martin County voters for their
Ma'am,
continued.
on the last item first.
Okay.
I apologize. Having been one of the people that voted to give him that consideration, I think that if there are new facts or accusations that have come to light, I have not had the opportunity, nor did I reach out to the applicant to hear his side of the story. I think if people are being, I don't know if accused is the right word, if these facts are being presented, that I would want to make sure that he would have the opportunity to come back here to explain them. I was one of the people that asked him specific questions. He gave us his answers. I did get an opportunity to hear from staff about this new information. So the reason for my vote is, yes, I'd like to see him work out some kind of a situation with the county if that's within what he wants to do. If not, I think he's entitled to come before us and explain himself. That's why I'm voting for that. Thank you.
Any further comments?
Your turn.
Thank you, Martin County voters, for your continued confidence in me. I never take it for granted. I certainly understand that public service is an enormous responsibility, and I will continue to attempt to try to earn your trust and confidence. So thank you very much, and congratulations to all the candidates who worked very hard in this primary season. And primaries are difficult in Florida also because they occur in the heat of the summer.
Yes.
I don't have any idea why our primaries are in August. It seems like it would be way more appropriate and enjoyable to have them in March,
January.
but that's not my
January is
decision.
a good month. No pain, no gain.
So, thank you. Mr. Donaldson.
Yes, so never a problem adding more confetti to the celebration. Congratulations, Commissioner Hurd, and also to Commissioner-elect Collins we'll be setting up time to meet with him to help him transition to his role here as a county commissioner. And also wanted to congratulate the city of Stuart for their award for federal rail award for their trestle replacement, which is an important project that we supported. And furthering on in that, we congratulate the city of Cocoa and Brevard County for their award for a train station. They had a similar project for us. And unfortunately, we did not receive such an award for our train station. And just the public understands that, yes, we did not get the award. But in terms of where we are, we're still looking for other opportunities should they exist in terms of our agreement with Brightline. And so with that, that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Ms. Elder.
I'm all set, thank you.
And also for people who are curious about reorganization and inaugurations, the city of Stuart did theirs last night. Indiantown will do theirs on Thursday night. Ours will not occur until November 17th.
Yes.
So don't expect our new commissioner to be sworn in until November 17th. So we are now going to take a 10-minute break, followed by the taking up the consent agendas. items. We are back. Commissioners, we're on air, you can tell. We have a sign. We are taking up consent 5.
Commissioner Hurd, if I can, before you begin, I just want to introduce a new attorney in our office. She was hired around the same time Joseph Barron was hired. This is Carolyn Mockler.
Nice
So I just want
Nice
to
to meet
introduce her
everybody.
to the board.
Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
There we go.
Please proceed.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Michelle Miller, Human Services Director. The agenda item before you today is a request for approval of revisions to the Martin County's Local Housing Assistance Plan, or LHAPS, for fiscal years 2023 to 2026 and 2026 to 2029. The LHAP serves as the county's framework for administrating our State Housing Initiative Partnership, or SHIP program. It identifies the housing strategies we are authorized to fund, the populations we serve, eligibility requirements, maximum award amounts, and the terms associated with each type of assistance. The primary reason that these plans are being brought back before you is a recent change in state law. Florida Senate Bill 594 requires the county to include additional provisions related to manufactured and mobile housing in our 2026 and 2029 LHAP. To comply with that requirement, staff added a new strategy, J, for manufactured housing and mobile homes. Under this strategy, eligible very low and low-income residents may receive assistance in 3 specific areas: relocation assistance for owners or tenants displaced because of the closure of a mobile home park, lot rental assistance for owners of manufactured or mobile homes for up to 6 months, and rehabilitation or emergency repair assistance for eligible owner-occupied manufactured or mobile homes. The maximum assistance available under the strategy is $10,000 for relocation assistance, $5,000 for lot rental assistance, and $15,000 for rehab or emergency repairs. To be eligible for rehabilitation or repair assistance, the manufactured or mobile home must be owner-occupied and must have been constructed within 20 years of the application date. Assistance under the strategy is a one-time benefit. In addition to the changes that are required by Senate Bill 594, staff made several technical revisions to both LHAPs to maintain consistency between the plans. These include updates to Section 1X regarding the manufactured and mobile home language, and revisions to Strategy H, our rental move-in and security deposit assistance strategy, which allows for housing costs to increase to 40% of the household's gross monthly income, which allows more residents to be eligible for rental assistance. The overall purpose of these plans remains the same: to use SHIP resources and address the housing needs of Martin County's extremely low, very low, low, and moderate income households, while preserving and expanding affordable housing opportunities within the county. Both revised plans have been reviewed and tentatively approved by the Florida Housing Finance Corporation. So the action requested today is for the board to approve the revised 2023 to 2026 and 2026 to 2029 local housing assisting plans, and authorize the chair to sign the associated resolutions and certifications. Following board approval, the documents will be submitted to Florida Housing Finance Corporation for their final approval. And I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Ms. Miller? Mr. Campy.
Ms. Miller, good morning. We had an opportunity to speak the other day on the phone. I found that the information that you shared was, to me, all positive news. This morning, we had some public comment about how the process of getting to where we are right this minute happens. Can you share a little bit about how that works, how you get the information? I thought there was a couple of solid suggestions about reaching out to the affected population. So how do you come up with what you come up with?
So these local assistance housing plans are revised every 3 years as required by state statute. That's why there's 2 of them in front of you, because we work off different funding years. So whatever funding year that we're working in has to be applied to that specific LHAP. So prior to the new LHAP being implemented, there's a public hearing that is noticed, and there's the opportunity for the public to come out to our AHAC meeting, or our Affordable Housing advisory committee meeting and provide feedback on the strategies that they'd like us to include. Florida statute only allows us to spend SHIP dollars on very limited amount of things, and most of the strategies that we include in our local plan allows for most of the strategies that are allowed by statute.
So it's not that you're picking and choosing some and leaving some behind. You're basically using all of the ones that are allowable in this category.
There are some that we're not using, but we base it off community needs. So primarily what is used, and this is throughout most of the counties in the state of Florida, are things like rehabilitation assistance, emergency assistance, rental assistance, disaster assistance. All of those things are utility assistance for water and sewer hookups. All of those things are included in our LHAP. And our AHAC, which meets quarterly, is always open for public comment, so at any time, people can come in and make suggestions for revisions that would go into the next planning cycle.
So the window of opportunity opens and closes in this particular case, but for some of the information that we've been hearing about, it's like if we don't lock it into what you're discussing right now, it's not like it can't ever happen, and there's not additional funding sources. I know you have all sorts of opportunities. You guys are constantly applying for grants. So if we approve what you've discussed today, it's not that for the next couple of years, the conversation is over.
Correct. What's before you today is required by the new statute that was enacted this year. If it had not been for that, we wouldn't even be bringing this before you, but we're required to add that strategy. The Florida Housing Coalition requires certain strategies to be implemented, and this is one of them. But yes, there are opportunities at all of our AHAC meetings for the public to come in, make suggestions, and then that board can make suggestions to you for changes that they would like to see.
I have served on the AHAC for quite a while, and I know my colleagues are doing it also. I think that what you guys discuss and your staff discuss there would be an important conversation for a broader audience to hear, and I would make a recommendation to Mr. Donaldson that perhaps we could have you and your staff from the AHAC and maybe members of the AHAC beyond the commission that would want to come, and then have it be during a commission meeting, if that was okay with my colleagues, to have an agenda item where we have that conversation here.
Yes, we can do that.
You know, televised on a Tuesday morning where it's a planned opportunity for the folks to come, and so we can continue that conversation on a broader scale. I think that the things that we heard this morning were valid. The suggestions on what needs to happen, the 3 suggestions, the requests that were made are valid. And so I would ask that maybe you could coordinate with Mr. Donaldson, if my colleagues agree, that we would have it as an actual agenda item to discuss some of the opportunities. I see Rob Ranieri from the House of Hope is behind you. He and I did have a conversation about, we always do, but specifically about the Dignity Bus and what it would take to bring something like that here. It's more than just acquiring the bus and bringing it here. Like all of the other things, whenever you're bringing groups of people together to sleep and shower and, cohabitate, even if it's on a short-term basis, that opens up a tremendous amount of scenarios with strangers being next to other strangers and adults being near children and men being near women. And so I think it's worked. And the beautiful part is we didn't have to invent the idea. It exists, but I know that House of Hope and others, organizations beyond the 10 City Helpers, would be willing to participate. They all are they're divergent of each other in separate kind of entities, but they're all trying to row the canoe in the same direction, and I'd like to help participate in that. Thank you.
Mr. Vargas.
Okay, so I've heard everything you said. I am on the committee, and what you provide during our meetings, which are every couple of months.
Every quarter,
which I am there. A lot of rich information that I think the community is totally unaware of, whether you're with a nonprofit, you're an individual, you're somebody who has an idea, whatever it may be. I take copious notes there, and of course, we have conversations too. Now, I know we had tent city helpers here, over the last several meetings, and I did ask about this. I'm still
looking into what the shower bus is. My understanding is Indian River County does provide the opportunity for nonprofits, which they should, to host the bus or churches on their properties. And because it moves around the county, it's not just parked one location. And the bus coordinates through the nonprofits as partners, and they should partner with them, coordinates with property owners, whether it be a church or a nonprofit or a private individual, so that they can have the fluidity to be able to reach a number of people. And so this effort should be geared towards nonprofits. Nonprofits need to come together in this county to provide this. Because the other question that I asked, and I've asked several meetings, and you see, as a government entity, if we are to provide for a shower bus or an encampment, we have to provide security, we have to provide utilities, maintenance, liability insurance, a health care facility, and also we open ourselves up to, we had a brief discussion this morning about adjacent property owners may feel that the encampment may create a devaluation of their property and open us up to a lawsuit. I'm not afraid of lawsuits, but we have to think about all of that. And this is an idea. However, that idea needs to get together with the nonprofits. They need to find the funding. They have the funding. Martin County has helped nonprofits in the past. This is the time to step up to the plate. We've had a lot of people asking, and I know I'm preaching to the choir. You're very, very professional, and you know this backwards and forwards, what we're talking about today. So they need to step up to the plate, the nonprofits, and assist. They have to assist. Again, I'm going to look at the shower bus. I will make it a point to do that. I have seen others in other counties, but I'm going to go, towards Indian River, and I do have other commissioners who I do know from the Florida Association of Counties, reaching out to them to find out what this is and, what they do in their counties.
Any further legal advice, input?
I have none at this time.
Any further discussion?
I'd make a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll take up consent 7, which is a request to approve an agreement between the University of Florida and Martin County for cooperative extension services. I pulled this item just because of uncertainty. Don't we have an agreement with the ranch to provide a facility on their property? And if so, is there a timeline? When is the fair vacating the premises? Who pays for the maintenance of the property? Those are some of my questions.
Good morning, Kevin Abate, Parks and Recreation Director. The PUD agreement with the ranch stipulates that my notes were that the ranch will enter with the county with a separate lease for 20 acres, but it will be done upon the first building permit after Phase 3. They'll contribute up to $50,000 towards engineering and planning cost. I did talk with Tom McNicholas this morning and asked him what the time frame was on this. He said it would be about 2 years or so. They're still on Phase 1, and so I think as this kind of goes forward, and also speaking with Extension Services, which houses the 4-H program, they're not going to, they do not have a desire to move out west with the fair. They would like to stay where they are now, depending on what's happening with the property in the future, and then ultimately either move out to the ranch, as we do pay for the salary cost and also some of the building costs as it relates to their truck, the maintenance of their facility over at the fairgrounds for the building. So really, we're kind of in a holding pattern right now until that property is vacated by park operations, and then the fair, which their current lease expires this next summer, and I guess their last fair will be the fair of 2027.
So the fair of 2027 will be over in February of 2027. This contract continues through September 30th of 2027, and we don't have any idea about the timing of the ranch property. I just don't understand. Are we going to continue providing $282,000 a year for salaries and for facilities? Is that going to be a single use at the fairgrounds? Just tell me what the plan is here.
So the fair will, and Mr. Stokas is here too, about this fair is going, their contract expires in June 16th of 2027. This MOU we figured we'd do it for 1 year. We really wanted to wait to see what happened in November as it relates to Amendment 3. So we didn't want to go into a multi-year agreement. We worked with the county attorney's office and the University of Florida to kind of negotiate this 1 year MOU to get us through the end of the next fiscal year, which they will be fully budgeted for next year. The amount of the budget is primarily salaries with the 4-H extension staff, cooperative extension, and we pay about $30,000 in other services specifically for the building. And they have one office there, and specifically as it relates to this current budget, we have janitorial services, garbage, copier leases, vehicle repair, building maintenance, printing and binding, a pretty low level budget for the 4-H and the extension program. So, my thought was in the next coming CIP program was to start putting them some dollars and working. We have to have a separate lease with the ranch, the county does, going forward to come up with the program for extension services in the future. So if it's going to be a 2-year window or on phase 3, according to the agreement, we do have some time. But if we have to find another home in addition to where they are now, we can certainly do that with the funds that we have, and we'll work directly with extension services.
So are you anticipating that we're going to build the facility?
Well, I don't know the answer to that yet. We haven't brought it back before the board. The PUD stipulates that specifically that $50,000 will go towards engineering and land planning costs. So we ultimately have a building now. I mean, I think they can go where we really need to meet with them and talk about what the plan is for the future as it relates to extension services and their programming, because they have the Master Gardener program, the 4-H program, and of course all the stuff they do in the schools.
So what's the responsibility of University of Florida?
I think in the MOU, I'll speak to Melissa, that we are required to provide a facility for them, and we
have a facility. I understand that, but we don't have a facility going forward. So I don't want to be on the hook to have to build a facility. I think that our partners at University of Florida need to have skin in the game. Commissioner Vargas.
I concur with Chairwoman Hurd. I have been to numerous programs at University of Florida. They have the endowments. They can certainly have plenty of skin in the game, but we cannot continue to shoulder that. The extension is wonderful, wonderful people. They really are. I've worked with them. I've been to their facility. I mean, they need to do what they need to do. I mean, we're not in the good times rolling anymore. We're really not. But I've been saying that since early 2025. We're down to the wire here. So who would be the person to reach out to the University of Florida and have a conversation? Certainly a commissioner on this board, the chairwoman can. I'd be happy to do it. You certainly. Mr. Stokas can do that too, since he's sitting there. So I assume he volunteered.
So, Madam Chair, I believe where we're kind of at in this whole process is staff was focusing on the transition of the Fair Association out west. And now that has come to light and they've submitted their site plans, we're into kind of a phase 2. We have had preliminary discussions with IFAS and the Master Gardener program and the 4-H, and there's some conflicting needs and wants that occur as far as it relates to location. Do they want to be out west? Master Gardeners want to be a little bit more to the east. So we'll reach out and work with them at this time, and then we'll come back to you all with a plan as well as probably a grant plan as to what we can apply for and then how we cobble the finances, and then come back to you at a later date as to how we do that. It was my understanding that once the fair was to let's say, vacate the property, that there were other partner organizations that needed to be addressed, not just IFAS 4-H, but we have some United Way activities that occur out there. There was also the discussion of how we're going to work with the Railroad Museum that was out there. That was at least my recollection of the events. It has been a few years, but we clearly are going to have to re-engage and come back to the board and republicize kind of a better plan moving forward.
Okay, because the lease with the fair is up June 2027?
I believe so.
So we have, 9 months to figure this out.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve consent 7?
Motion to
Motion
approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Let's take up board appointments. B and C 1. Yes.
Did the rest of the consent agenda get
Oops, sorry.
approved?
No.
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
Good
please make
point.
a motion.
Move approval.
A second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the remainder of the consent agenda. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thanks. Good morning, Ms. Gordon.
Hi, Donna Gordon for administration. The first one is Value Adjustment Board. There were 2 applicants, and Mrs. Victoria Sika received 3 votes.
Is there a motion to approve Victoria Sika?
I'll move approval of Ms. Victoria Sika.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any objection? That motion passes unanimously. Neighborhood Advisory Committee appointments.
Okay. For Golden Gate, we had no applications. For Hope Sound, there's 3 positions opening, 1 applicant, Susan Butler. I'm suggesting her term begins September 12th, 2026 and end September 11, 2030. Skip Jensen Beach for now. Port Salerno, no applications. Rio, there was 2 open positions and 2 individuals applied. Richard Kennedy reapplied, and Douglas Schramm applied. And I'm suggesting Richard Kennedy's term begin September 12, 26 and end September 11, 2030. And Mr. Schramm's term begin August 25th and end August 24, 2030. And Jensen Beach, I'm asking you to appoint 2 people. Mrs. Cindy Hall received 4 votes. Mrs. Linda Kirkachane received 5 votes. And I'm suggesting Mrs. Hall's vote with her term begins September 12, 2026, and Linda's begin August 25th, 2026, and for 4 years.
Move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. And Industrial Development Authority appointments.
Okay. 4 positions open. Mr. Don Britton received 5 votes. Mrs. Jamie Elfert received 4 votes. Mr. George Gottuso received 5 votes. Mr. Sean Williams received 4 votes. The only term I'm going to ask is that you appoint Mr. Sean Williams to the November 24, 26 to November 23rd, 2030. And the IDA would like their terms to be staggered so you all can determine who gets the 1-year, 2-year, 3-year.
Any suggestions?
Just go down the line, go up it backwards, I don't
Okay.
care.
Go down the line. Go down the line.
So you're wanting suggestions on who should be 1 year, who should be 2, and who should be 3?
Correct.
When do they meet again? Can we leave that up to them, or we have to do it right now?
I prefer you do it now.
Yeah.
Ms. Gordon says do it now, let's do it now.
Can I hear that more often?
I know you.
I didn't know we could stop.
I guess maybe make the incumbents the shorter terms and the new folks the longer terms?
Well, there's only there's 3 incumbents. I'm requesting Williams be the November appointment, because that's when his term expires, is in November. And the newcomer would be Don Britton. Want to do him 1 year?
Sure, maybe people won't like it.
And Mrs. Elfert, 2 years, 3 years?
2 year, maybe, since we're just picking these out of the sky, I'd make Miss Elfert 1 year, Don Britton 2 years. Sean Williams was 4, and then what do we do, a 3?
Gattuso, yeah. he's
Gattuso
3.
for 3.
Gattuso would be September 2029 expiring, so 3 years.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Is that a motion?
Yes, it is.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
Question for you, if they meet and they decide that that just logistically doesn't work, can they make a recommendation?
Sure, and I'll
Back
bring
to
it
it.
back.
Okay, if it ever get passed out of your office?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. We
At
will,
least give them that opportunity.
I will.
we will take up public hearing number 1, which is approval of the State Housing Initiative Partnership Program, 23-24 annual report and transmittal to the states.
Okay,
Ms.
good morning
Miller.
again, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Michelle Miller, Human Services Director. The item before you this morning is a request for approval of Martin County's State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program Annual Report for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. As you know, SHIP provides an important source of funding that allows the county to assist income-eligible residents with a variety of housing needs. Florida statutes require participating counties to submit an annual report to the Florida Housing Finance Corporation detailing how these funds were used in demonstrating our compliance with the program requirements. And I would like to just highlight a few of the results from this reporting period. During this year, 23-24, that we're reporting, Martin County expended approximately $985,000 in SHIP funds and assisted 68 households through our various housing strategies. Those strategies included rental assistance, owner-occupied rehabilitation, emergency repairs, water and sewer assistance, and demolition and reconstruction. More specifically, of those 68 households assisted, 48 received rental assistance, 42. 10 received emergency repair assistance, 8 households received rehabilitation, 7 households received water and sewer assistance, and 1 household received a demolition and reconstruction assistance. These investments are important because they allow us to address the housing needs at several different levels. In some cases, we are helping families remain safely in their existing home through our rehabilitation strategy or an emergency repair. In others, we are helping residents maintain stable housing through rental services, and this prevents homelessness. The report also demonstrates that we continue to prioritize our lower income residents. Approximately 80% of these funds were reflected in the income set-aside portion of this report were directed towards extremely low, very low, and our low-income households. The county also met or exceeded the major statutory SHIP set-aside requirements reflected in this report, which includes the requirements related to home ownership, construction, and rehabilitation for very low-income households, our low-income households, and our special needs households. It's also worth noting that there is a great demand for this program. During the reporting period, the county received 131 affordable housing applications, 102 were approved, and 41 were denied. Those denials are primarily for things like they were not income eligible or they weren't the primary owner and resident. This continues to demonstrate the significant need for housing assistance within our community. Overall, the report represents more than compliance with a state reporting requirement. It reflects our direct investment in assisting Martin County residents and our ability to help these families maintain safe, stable, and affordable housing. The requested action today is for the board to approve the 2023-24 SHIP Program Annual Report and authorize the chair to sign the required certification. Upon approval, the report will be submitted to the Florida Housing Finance Corporation, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Questions for Ms. Miller?
Just to be clear, you're saying SHIP with a P at the end, correct? Just wanted to clarify.
Yes. State Housing Initiative Partnership.
I did tour one of your homes that was in East Stuart, and I know that you were waiting for Florida Power and Light to come out to, you had to cut trees down for
Yes.
palms, and then they had to change the box or move the box off near the street area, and so that you could obviously connect the electricity to be able to dry the home, to be able to complete the interior building of that. So I did see that, and I think you had set aside up to $350,000 for that home. That's amazing. When I started real estate, I'm saying that would be like $45,000. You know, that type of home, size home. Yeah.
Commissioner Capps.
Yeah, you know, when looking at the types of things that people can get and what they can use the SHIP funds for, I think we ought to publicize that a little bit. Some of the things that I saw were rental assistance, owner-occupied rehabilitation of your house, emergency repair, and even water sewer hookup, right? So if you know of folks who are fiscally constrained and could use some funds for these types of purposes, think about them and let them know about this program. It looks like the encumbered amount is $1.4 million. Is that about the amount of money we spend each year on this program?
It varies. So we have been getting between, I would say, 1.2 to 1.8 million over the past 5 years or so, but it varies in between those ranges.
So it's a good thing to let your neighbors know, and this is a really valuable resource for people who need it. So thanks for your presentation.
I'll move that the board approve the SHIP program annual report.
I will second it.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Miller. We will now take up Department Quasi-Judicial Number 1, which is a request for approval of the Martin Commerce Park Planned Unit Development, Plat Infrastructure, Final Site Plan, including Phase 1 and 2 Final Site Plan. This is quasi-judicial. Any ex parte disclosures? Commissioner Vargas.
I have none. The report's been filed.
Mr. Capps.
If I have any, they have been filed.
If I have any, they've been filed. Commissioner Campy.
If I have any, they've been filed.
And Commissioner Heatherington.
If any, they've been filed.
Mr. Elam, have you provided all your pertinent materials to the clerk?
The copy of my work history and the agenda item turned in for Exhibit 1.
Anyone who's going to be providing sworn testimony, please stand up, raise your right hand, and be sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. Please proceed, Mr. Elam.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. For the record, Brian Elam, Principal Planner with the Growth Management Department. I have documents provided to me from Gunster I'd like to offer into evidence as Exhibit 2. Gunster Law Firm represents the applicant, Martin Commerce Park LLC. The documents include the resumes of professionals. Before I begin, I wanted to point out one discrepancy in the executive summary of this agenda item, and that was this value right here, where it states it's 121.95 acre portion of the 167.18 acre property. That sentence should read 120.66 acre, as is shown on the site plan and in the staff report. This is a request by Lucido and Associates on behalf of Martin Commerce Park LLC for approval of the Martin Commerce Park PUD infrastructure final site plan, including Phase 1 and Phase 2 final site plan consistent with the approved master site plan and phasing plan. This proposal includes construction of all infrastructure and preserve area requirements for the entire project site, 7 buildings totaling approximately 485,492 square feet of gross floor area and outdoor storage on an approximate 120.6 acre portion of the 167.1 acre property. Included with this application is a request for a certificate of public facilities reservation. The property is located east and adjacent to I-95 and south of Southwest Martin Highway in Palm City. The site is currently zoned planned unit development by way of the Martin Commerce Park PUD zoning agreement approved on December 9th, 2025. The future land use for the property is industrial. This application includes a plat, infrastructure, final site plan, and Phase 1 and Phase 2 final site plan. The plat infrastructure final site plan allows replatting the property to remove the existing Martingale Estates residential lots. Additionally, this plan allows site grading, utility installation, construction of water management tracks, including stormwater retention ponds and dry retention areas for the entire project site. Also included in this plan is the construction of the 50-foot wide native landscaping buffer along I-95, which is shown all along here where it borders I-95. It's almost a mile long, 4,900 feet, I think, 50-foot wide native landscape buffer. And it also includes access and utility tracks. The Phase 1 and Phase 2 final site plan includes construction of 7 buildings totaling 485,492 square feet of gross floor area. Restrictions on this property detailed in the ordinances 1233 and 1234 and in policy 4.1b.2.6 of the Martin County Comprehensive Growth Management Plan list the maximum non-residential building square footage for the entire project site to a cumulative total of 1.1 million square feet. This proposal is below the 1.1 million square foot threshold, and the property has 614,508 square feet remaining for future development. Open space. Provided is 48%, or 80.3 acres, more than double the required 20%. The total preserve area is 27.29 acres, which includes 16.04 acres of wetland preserve, 8.51 acres of wetland preserve buffer, and approximately 2 3/4 of restored upland preserve. Which is represented here by the very tight hatching along the buffer, and this area is here. The 2 3/4 acre restored upland preserve was a public benefit listed in the PUD zoning agreement, noted on the approved master site plan and shown on this proposed Phase 1 and 2 final site plan, as well as the plat infrastructure site plan. Building height is below 40 feet, as shown here in this table. Growth management staff has approved the applicant's elevation drawings. And alternative compliance requests to Article 4, Division 20, Industrial Design Standards as detailed on the elevation drawings attached with this agenda item. Industrial design standards only apply to structures within 600 feet of I-95. 100% Florida native plant species have been used throughout this project, and a 4,890-foot linear foot, 50-foot wide native landscape buffer has been installed along the property line adjacent to I-95. Pursuant to the Martin Commerce Park PUD zoning agreement, Exhibit F, Special Conditions, Item 9, Public Benefits, the 5.7 acre parcel of land for a proposed fire station has been donated to the county. This proposal complies with all comprehensive growth management plan restrictions and the PUD zoning agreement. Review of this project by the LP is not required due to the approved master site plan. Development review staff have found the Martin Commerce Park LLC plat infrastructure final site plan, including Phase 1 and 2 final site plan application to comply with all applicable regulations and the comprehensive growth management plan as detailed in the staff report. Staff recommends approval of the plat infrastructure final site plan, including Phase 1 and 2 final site plan application request by Martin Commerce Park LLC. We move that the board receive and file the agenda item and its attachments, including the staff report as Exhibit 1. Move that the board adopt the resolution approving the plat infrastructure final site plan for the Martin Commerce Park PUD project. And move that the board adopt the resolution approving the Phase 1 and 2 final site plan for the Martin Commerce Park PUD project. That concludes my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Elam? Mr. Elam, on the portion that's being donated to Martin County in order to construct the fire station, how much of that parcel is buildable? How much is upland? Do you know? Does anybody know?
Yes, the entire 5.7 acres donated to the county for the fire thing is buildable uplands.
Terrific, thanks.
Yes, to state his name for the record.
State your name for the record, please.
Pete Walden, Deputy Growth Management Director.
Applicant, do you have a presentation? Good morning, Mr. Raines.
Good morning, Chair Hurd. Again, congratulations, too, on your
Thank
quite
you.
an accomplishment. And good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Bob Raines, and I'm a land use attorney with the Gunster Law Firm here on behalf of the applicant. I would like to state that we're pleased to agree with staff's recommendation. We reviewed the staff report, and I would just like to emphasize that the item before you today is consistent with the PUD that was previously approved, the master site plan and the phasing plan, and that we'll prove that today by providing competent substantial evidence to that effect. And I have our entire team here. I would, Chair Hurd, with your permission, like to ask Mr. Elam just a couple of quick questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
Mr. Elam, you've reviewed this project, is that correct?
That's correct.
And in your professional opinion, sir, is it consistent with the master site plan and the PUD and the phasing plan that was previously approved?
It is consistent.
And
yes.
is it also consistent, sir, with the comprehensive plan and the land development codes for Martin County?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I would just like to have Mr. Crady come up, make a short presentation. I'll ask him a couple of quick questions if that's okay, and we'll try to move this along for you. Mr. Crady, if you'll go ahead and state your name for the record.
Morris Crady, senior partner with Lucido & Associates.
And you've been sworn in, sir?
I have.
And can you give us a quick, brief summary of your work history and education?
Yes, I've been employed by Lucido & Associates now for almost 40 years, and prior to that, worked for 10 years with the Martin County Community Growth Management Department as certified planner for over 30 years with the American Institute of Certified Planners.
And can you identify the document
Yes,
showing
that's
you?
my CV.
And that's a current?
Yes.
Thank you. And I have had this is what Mr. Elam submitted, but I would also like to submit it as applicant's Exhibit 1, if I could, please. Go right ahead, sir.
Okay. Yes, so we're here today, again, for the record, Morris Crady, here on behalf of Ashley Capital. And I want to thank staff because this has been, a very long process, and we've been working back and forth very well together, and staff has made sure that everything that we're doing is consistent with the PUD agreement and consistent with the special conditions of the PUD agreement and the master site plan. But before I get into the details, I'll give you a little bit of history on the process that we've been going through, because this all started with a vision, from our client, Ashley Capital, Rick Morton to be exact, and also his associate Jill's vision. And Rick's vision was based on decades of experience in developing these industrial parks throughout the country. Jill's came to the table with her decades of experience here in the local business community, identifying the needs of the local business community, and really coming up with this vision based on what Martin County needs and what we think will be a successful project once it's developed. But it wasn't easy. The client purchased the property in 2022. We took about a year to come up with a text amendment and a future land use map amendment. We spent over 15 months working with the county and stakeholders. We had several meetings with Stuart West and Cobblestone and tried to get out as much information as we could so it was understood exactly what we were trying to accomplish. So that was a 15-month period that led to the adoption of the land use change to industrial, and also a text amendment that was negotiated in a unique way that included, caps on the maximum development that we could put on the property. It included a prohibition against any residential uses, and it included a commitment to build a signal at the intersection of Martin Highway and Stuart West Boulevard. So that lasted for 15 months, and then we submitted a PUD agreement, master plan. So this is the conceptual design stage. So we worked out the details of the special conditions, and again, met for over 9 months during that process with stakeholders, with the county staff and the commissioners, and developed a PUD agreement with special conditions and a master plan that kind of set the concept into motion. And here we are today at the final site plan stage, looking for approval of phase 1 and 2 to start construction. So this includes all the construction plans for the site improvements. It includes the landscape plans. It includes the details of the buildings. And today is reality. Today is where the actual shovel hits the ground and hits the dirt, and we're hoping to start construction as soon as possible. But the site, as you all know, is really an already developed site. There's 23 parcels that were platted on the property. There's a central road that was built and a couple of spine roads that were built. So one of the things we have to do is replat the property, and we do that by way of an infrastructure final site plan, and that's before you today. But I wanted just to go over first the fact that we had to go through the master site plan process. This is the master site plan, and it's been concluded that we're consistent with what we represented during the master site plan public hearings. This is the graphic that was presented during the master site plan public hearing that shows the number of buildings that we're proposing. And I'll go into more detail because we've updated that graphic now to provide more detail on what we're actually doing. But this was a slide from the original application when we were going through the PUD process and also the land use amendment process, and some of the economic benefits provided by the developer as he's trying to find a niche type of use here for local businesses to expand and recruit. They'll be paying over $3 million in impact fees when they get their building permits, projected about $1.2 million in annual ad valorem taxes, and $600,000 in tangible personal property taxes. And that's all conjecture right now, but over the next course of years, we'll as we've done another project, we'll show how that becomes reality. And as we mentioned during that first presentation of the master site plan, phase 1 is going to include all of the site infrastructure, all of the preserve area management requirements, 7 buildings that total almost 500,000 square feet of building area. And this was designed to attract new small businesses, new industries. There's a lot of flexibility in how the buildings were designed and how they're going to be operated that will attract and retain businesses within our community. And this is not large-scale warehouse and distribution, and it's definitely not a data center.
Thank you.
Some of the PUD benefits that we promised to provide at this time, we're here now, is the donation of a fire station site, which has been accomplished. The conversion of preserve area easements. A lot of these preserve areas were easements on individual lots. We've taken that to the higher level and created tracts now for these areas that are being maintained by the Property Owners Association. We've now restored over 2.75 acres of upland habitat for a total preservation area of 27 acres. We've increased the open space, as was mentioned, in all of our landscape plans. We're using 100% native species that are acclimated to this particular area of the county. Now, so we're here on an infrastructure final site plan, and that's required because we have these existing 23 lots out there that aren't in the right spot. So we have to replat, even though there's no intention of actually selling individual lots to another developer. This is going to be developed by Ashley Capital and retained by Ashley Capital as an asset. So the replat is only necessary because we had to get rid of the old lots and create new lots that were consistent with the master site plan that the county approved. The infrastructure site plan includes all the preserve area management plan requirements. We removed all the, and actually that work's been done already. They've been working out there for the last 3 years or 5 years, removing exotic vegetation and cleaning up those areas, and we've worked on the restoration of those preserve areas ever since. So it includes all of the lakes and stormwater treatment areas, including, which also includes native landscaping. So all of the lakes and the dry retention areas are going to be built by the developer up front as part of the first phase. It includes the construction and landscaping of the 50-foot wide, mile-long native landscape buffer along I-95. All the water and wastewater treatment facilities, including fire protection system and utilities, will be built with this infrastructure phase, which is phase 1. And all the internal street and access improvements, including the signalization of Martin Highway intersection, will be built with phase 1. And all this has to be accomplished prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for any of the buildings. So then we go from there to a phase 1 and 2 final site plan. Phase 1 included the infrastructure development that I just talked about, but it also includes the actual development on the lot. And so we have to go through the final site plan approval to get the building permits for the buildings and to construct the parking and everything on the individual lots. And phase 1 lot is a big lot. It's 35.8 acre in size, but it includes 6 buildings and totaling about 376,000 square feet. Smallest building, again, being 32,000 square feet up to 116. A lot of variety in size and type in order to attract multiple users and tenants. Phase 2 includes just one building of 109,000 square feet on 6.3 acres. So the phase 1 and 2 final site plan authorizes the construction of the parking, the outdoor loading and storage areas, and additional native landscape areas on the lot itself that all must be completed prior to a CO for any of those buildings. Let's see. So this is what the infrastructure final site plan looks like. I know there's a lot of details and data on there, but it basically is the future plat. And if you look on your plans, there was the preliminary plat attached to the infrastructure final site plan. The staff wants to make sure that what we show on the site plan is consistent with the plat, so we now do a preliminary plat with a site plan that proposes a plat. So this is the overall infrastructure landscape plan. Again, a lot of data and analysis. The county staff was very careful in making sure that we met every single piece of your code and requirement. So we have to put a lot of information on these plans to document compliance, and we did. Same with the phase 1 and 2 final site plan. But rather than trying to explain all this in detail, the best way to understand what we're doing is with an updated color rendering of the project. And just going to what's been changed, this is now no longer proposed. There is almost a 6-acre fire station site that has been donated to Martin County. All of this land is usable, so all the land that the House of Hope has, all the land that the church has there. This is 19 acres of 100% usable property. The only preservation area is this existing conservation easement right here, and the preserve area that's actually on our property. The proposed signalized intersection is now approved. It's under permit. It's going under permit, and we should have construction or permit, again, has to be built prior to the first CO of the first building. And this is all being permitted within the DOT right-of-way, so that we're working out all those details in concert with the county, but primarily with DOT. As I mentioned, the preserve area is now a preserve tract, so it's a area that's been dedicated to the POA. It will be maintained by the POA in accordance with the preserve area management plan. The other infrastructure improvements includes these lakes and these dry retention areas that are going to be built, again, as part of phase 1, and including the 50-foot landscape buffer along I-95. This existing lake will be expanded to accommodate additional retention, and this lake will be modified to accommodate additional retention. And all of these areas, these common areas, are being planted with native landscaping. Lot 1 has its own landscape plan. These are the 6 buildings in Lot 1. And again, the lot limits are basically what you see that's paved. Everything outside the lot is a common track. So there's a right-of-way here. This will be a right-of-way track. These are access tracks that provide access to these future lots. And again, we replatted the property into Lot 1, which is the 6 buildings, 35.8 acres. Lot 2 is building number 14. It's the 7th building in this phase, however. And then Lot 6, you can see Lot 4 will have 3 buildings on it. Lot 5, Lot 6, Lot 3, Lot 7. So all those are now platted lots, and they're suitable for development. And you won't see this again. Those lots can be, now that we've developed the infrastructure final site plan, you see that we're meeting all the requirements of the code. These future buildings on these other lots that will be platted will go through the county administrative review process. It won't have to come back to the board. So right now, we're in the process of, the architects are busy. They're creating the building plans for the actual building construction. Before we can even get there, we've got a lot of common area improvements to do, but the architectural, they're all going to be consistent and all under 40 feet per the requirements in the PUD agreement. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions. We have our development team here as well.
And just a couple of questions, Morris, for you. So in your professional opinion, this project that's before the board today is consistent with the approved PUD, the approved master site plan, and the phasing plan?
Yes, it is.
And it's also consistent with the Martin County Comprehensive Land Development Code and Comprehensive Plan?
Yes.
Thank you. Yep, so that does conclude. Again, as Morris said, we have our team here, and thank you for your time.
Questions? Commissioner Campy?
Not so much questions. I guess I'll wait and see if there's any public comment. I don't believe there is, but if there's any public comment, I'd speak afterwards.
Commissioner Vargas?
I'm familiar with this project, and I think it goes several months back when I did speak with the team from Ashley Capital, and specifically, and you've gone over this, and this seems to have been a green meeting, and I did ask the questions, did you preserve the trees? I got a resounding yes, the original trees, because I know that if they were to be bulldozed in lieu of, you could pay, but you can never replace the tree. It takes years to grow. The other thing that I noticed here, and I did forget to ask when I had my meeting, is about the gopher tortoises. I see they're going to be relocated, hopefully on the property. Anybody? Yeah.
We do have an environmental consultant here, but the habitat on the site is not suitable for relocation. They're actually in the berm along 95 is where most of them were, so they're in a man-made environment to begin with. I believe we're taking, why don't you tell us where it goes from here?
Where'd they go?
Jason Hunter, EW Consultants, environmental scientist, project manager on behalf of the applicant.
Have you been sworn in, sir?
I rose my hand, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So the FWC would not allow for on-site relocation in this case. The on-site habitat would not be considered suitable enough for on-site relocation. FWC would require that those tortoises are relocated off-site. So they go to permanent lands that have been restored or managed in perpetuity for the gopher tortoises' benefit.
So you're going to take them out to Palm City?
No, ma'am.
They're in Palm City.
They'll be going
but
off-site.
they really belong in their own site. Because I see at the back of the property, away from I-95, you have a lot of natural lands there. Wouldn't that be more appropriate?
It still would not meet FWC's criteria.
Why?
FWC has a lot of very specific criteria. I've helped permit the only recipient site in Martin County. That's under my name, and so I'm very familiar with FWC's requirements. I could tell you the on-site conditions would not be suitable in FWC's eyes.
Why? Give me one reason.
The vegetation coverage, drainage requirements, easement requirements, habitat requirements, size requirements, stocking capacities. It's a long list. There's a lot of criteria involved in determining whether an on-site and off-site relocation is feasible.
Yeah, I've read quite a bit about this, and they do flourish better in their natural environment where they're found. I understand what you said about it being a man-made area, but at least if they're moved to the other site, on the other side of the property, is that not doable?
No, ma'am. And the recipient sites that are permitted to receive the tortoises are managed
know.
specifically
They
to
don't do
receive
so
those
well.
tortoises and overseen by FWC.
So where are you taking them?
They'll be going to, it's a ranch that's permitted to receive the tortoises, be out of the county.
Which county?
Another county, I'd have to check and see exactly where it's located. It's a recipient site that receives a lot of the tortoises from around here.
Well, I hope they don't try to walk back, because this does happen.
No, there's measures that are taken to make sure that doesn't happen.
I understand because I've toured that, to see they're fenced off and watched.
Would anyone from the public like to address us? Seeing none, Commissioner Heatherington.
I just had a question, maybe it was for Morris. So did the DOT finally, you said approved, the DOT finally warranted the signal?
Yes.
I'm going to let our traffic consultant speak to that. Stephanie?
Good morning. So yes, so we received the pre-application approval letter from FDOT, and we've been going through permitting for the actual design and construction plans. So we've received some comments, and we anticipate receiving permits in the next few months.
Right, so then you can start construction once you receive the permits?
Correct.
It's so badly needed, that traffic signal on that road, so I look forward to it being constructed.
Please identify yourself for the record, please.
Oh, I apologize. For the record, Stephanie Guerra, I'm a transportation engineer with Kimley Horn and Associates.
And sworn in.
And I have been sworn in. I apologize. Thank you.
And Commissioner Hurt, if I could, Chair Hurt, just for the record, I have also turned their resumes in for both of those as part of the applicant package that was sent in.
Okay,
So
thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Canby.
It's been quite a journey to get here, as Mr. Crady had laid out the timing. In his brief, he discussed 5-6 years in a couple of minutes, but the amount of time, effort on our staff to review it, on the applicant and the consultants, I want to say thank you. We have had this come before us many times. I normally beat the drum pretty soundly on behalf of the project, simply because the timing is perfect, where there's a lot of talk about Amendment 3 and what that will mean, and in certain counties it won't have the same impact that it will here. Martin County is very, very heavily reliant on residential property taxes. We are really lopsided in regards to our mix of commercial and industrial versus residential. To have someone come forward and be willing to take on the tremendous expense and time and effort to bring a project of this scale to us, I'm very pleased. In terms of the location, it could not be better. It's adjacent to 95 with an exit right there, so a lot of the traffic that will be generated, whether it's truck traffic or vehicular traffic, will come and go directly on and off of 95. It's west of the turnpike, so you could exit the turnpike, travel west on 714, and be at the property, so you're not coming through a majority of the sort of more commercial neighborhoods of Palm City. The applicant, we've heard quite a bit about Ashley Capital. Rick Morton and his team from out of the county have duplicated this, or I guess this would be the duplication, have successfully accomplished what they're looking to do here in many states, in many projects. And so it's not like, hey, sometimes we have applicants come forward and they have a vision or a dream, and we have to sort of take them at their word that they'll be able to accomplish what they say they can and will want to accomplish. But then, for whatever reason, sometimes it doesn't happen. This case, we know that there's a long, multi-decade history of this. Beyond that, when they came to town and I had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Morton, he said that he wanted to be involved in the community. Everybody tells us that. We're going to be community partners. We're going to get involved in the community. We're going to assist the not-for-profits and the local schools and the thing. I would tell you, I don't know if anyone has done it more so, or more generously than the Mortons and Ashley Capital. Then the other issue is sometimes folks that come from out of town don't traditionally understand the landscape that they're getting themselves into, the circumstances that they're getting themselves into. And I've heard, they say, don't worry about it. We're professionals. We know how to do this. Ashley Capital didn't do that. They hired a local team led by Jill Marassa, who, if you're not familiar, she was with our Martin County BDB and then went up to St. Lucie County and worked with their economic council and has had a tremendous track record. She's a Palm City resident. Her kids grew up and went to school here. She then put a team together. So, I mean, this is, as far as I'm concerned, the perfect project brought to us by the perfect people. So my big thing about the 3 Ps, the project, the place, and the people, check all of the boxes. They donated property that would have cost us millions and millions of dollars to build a fire station. They donated the site for a fire station that western Palm City and western Martin County has been desperate to have, and probably wouldn't have been able to put the finances together to do that, at least any time in the foreseeable future. They've also made generous donations to the House of Hope and the church, to Coastal Life Church out there. So, I mean, I sound like I'm gushing because it's really a well-done project. Now it will also pay property taxes. It'll also hire people. It's also going to protect the environment. They were very respectful of their next-door neighbors or across-the-street neighbors, who we both know that Stuart and Weston Cobblestone are not shy. And there is a reason that none of them are here today, because they have embraced the project. Not every single family necessarily, but universally have embraced the project because the project embraced them. And so I'm thrilled, and I wish that this could be a start of something where other applicants will look at this. I said the same thing about Knight Kiplinger. We call it the Kiplinger process. We could almost think about an Ashley Capital process. I mean, it took forever, and it cost a fortune for them, but how well done. And so today, as Mr. Crady said, we're putting, hopefully, the shovel into the dirt. All of these other agenda items were like cheer pep rallies, at least for me. Now we get to actually see the work just in time that we might need to beef up our tax base with more industrial and commercial businesses to come our way. So I happily make a motion to accept staff's recommendation with all of the caveats that were layered into it. Thank you.
I will happily second it. It's a great project.
Commissioner Capps.
I'd like to commend you for your use of native plants and remind everyone why that's important. Native species do not require all of the fertilizers and chemicals that non-native species require. And oftentimes, when you think about what is native, the list is shorter seemingly than many people think. Generally, if they have really beautiful flowers, they're probably not native. So keep that in mind, and we all need to focus on doing all we can to use native plants, because that's all that fertilizer gets in the waterways eventually. So if we change some of our practices, that'll get better.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
You have a good day.
You too. Now let's take up agenda item Department 1, Office of Management and Budget items, which require board approval. Ms. Murley.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Stephanie Murley here to present to you the OMB item. There's 7 items today for your consideration. Our first item is permission to apply for the FY 27-28 Florida Department of Environmental Protection, or the FDEP, Resilient Florida Infrastructure Grant for Boy Scout Island Stabilization Project. Our Public Works Department is requesting a grant application of $400,000 to provide funds for the stabilization of Boy Scout Island within the Indian River Lagoon, using a hybrid living shoreline design to benefit local maintained channels within the intercoastal waterway and preserve boating access. The grant requires a match of $400,000, which is expected to come from a future Florida Inland Navigation District or FINE grant. Our second item is a permission to apply for the FY 26-27 FDEP Resilient Florida Grant for the MC2 Shoreline Stabilization Project. Our Public Works Department is requesting application of a grant for $500,000 to construct a breakwater to stabilize the shoreline, add fill material, and plant mangroves that will improve the quality of nesting on Bird Island Critical Wildlife Area. There is a grant match of $500,000, which is programmed within the FY 27 Ecosystem Management CIP. Item number 3 is a permission to apply for funding from the Florida Inland Navigation District for derelict vessel removal funds. Our building department is requesting a grant award of $53,482.50 for the reimbursement of 14 vessels that have been determined to be derelict and have been already removed and expended. There is a grant match that is $17,827 that has been absorbed within the derelict vessel removal program and already been expended. Item number 4 is a permission to accept the fine project agreement amendment for the Charlie Layton Park boat ramp renovation. This is just a non-monetary amendment for a time extension, so the Parks and Recreation Department can complete the construction of the project. There's no additional funds required for this amendment for a time extension. Item number 5 is a permission to accept the BJA FY25 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, or JAG program. Our Martin County Sheriff's Office is requesting the acceptance of $21,112 for their traffic unit to enhance traffic crash investigation and roadway safety operations through the acquisition of a laser scanning system, and there's no grant match required for this item. Item number 6 is a permission to accept the Emergency Management Preparedness and Assistance Trust Fund, or EMPA grant. This is an annual operating grant that our Emergency Management Division receives. They're requesting the acceptance of $105,806 to enhance planning projects, provide for technology, equipment, and supplies, as well as meet program mandates for the Emergency Management Division, and there is no grant match required. Item number 7 is adjustments to the FY26 budget. Item A is a budget resolution to accept the 25-26 SHIP funding. We're in receipt of an additional $34,787 in SHIP funds. The funding is used for qualified households with sewer and water hookups, home demolition and replacement and rental assistance, and the Office of Management and Budget is just requesting the adoption of a budget resolution to allocate this additional funding for SHIP. And the last item is just a budget transfer from Utilities Capital Reserves for a project. Utilities and Solid Waste is requesting a transfer from their capital reserves in order to advance a project for the Floridan raw water main extension for the Tropical Farms reverse osmosis well number 8. This project was approved by the BOCC during the FY25 workshop. It is now fully designed and ready for construction, and funds are available in the Utilities Fund Enterprise Capital Reserves in the amount of $528,892 to start that project. And that's all I have today.
Questions for Ms. Murley?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Capps?
I'll second, and I would like to thank our partners. I was noticing who they are. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and Florida Inland Navigation District, and I think we have one here, Florida Department of Emergency Management. Did I miss anybody?
Edward Burns.
The Department of Justice.
Department of Justice?
For the Martin County Sheriff's Office grant.
For the Sheriff's Office. Commissioner Campbell, did you mention?
Edward Burns, his family, that memorial fund has been decades long,
Yes.
the loss of their son.
Yes, the Burns family as well, and I will second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to Department 3, request adoption of the Martin County Library System 2027-2029 Long Range Services Plan. Ms. Salas.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Afternoon.
Jen Salas, Library Director. Today I'm presenting to you the library's 2027 to 2029 Long Range Services Plan. This plan is a 3-year framework which guides library staff in our services, resources, and priorities, and keeping us accountable to the residents that we serve. The plan is required by the state library to qualify for us the State Aid to Libraries grant. And while the plan is written primarily for library staff, we do post it on our county website so that our residents can review the plan at any time. The timing of this plan is particularly relevant given the fiscal uncertainty we are facing. However, we did begin working on this plan a year and a half ago before any of the legislative discussions were occurring. Our theme for this plan is simple: simplify our processes, reconnect to our core services, and sunset or streamline services that are no longer providing sufficient value to our residents. Our previous plans focused on adding new services to our library system. So over the past 15 years, we have added new services and expanded services for teenagers, small business owners, older adults, and the neurodivergent population, among many others. But this planning cycle is different. Rather than asking what else can we add, we are asking what are we doing now, what value does it serve, and is it the best use of our limited resources? So I'm going to briefly take you through the 3 sections of our plan. You'll notice that each of the sections, they have benchmarking for keeping us accountable to our goals and making sure that we're meeting those goals. So the first section in our plan does focus on our core services. Let me just get to that part. For us, our staff are at the heart of our core services, so we invest in having well-trained employees, clear procedures, and accountability for how services are delivered. That investment in our staff and our procedures ultimately allows us to provide a consistent professional service to our residents while also operating efficiently. Another core service is our collection of materials, which includes both our print and our digital collections. We continuously evaluate usage and community interests so that our purchasing decisions are intentional and our collection dollars are going toward materials that our residents really want and use. The second section in this plan focuses on simplifying, sunsetting, and streamlining our services. So libraries are naturally collaborative organizations, and we are frequently approached by individuals and organizations with excellent ideas for new programs, new partnerships, and new services. Historically, our instinct has always been to say yes and to find a way to do those collaborations. But every new service requires resources, whether that be staff time, technology, supplies, or ongoing maintenance. So this plan gives our staff the tools to politely decline, delay, or reconsider collaborations when they do not align with our priorities. This part of the plan isn't about eliminating services simply to reduce the number of things we do. It is about making sure the services we provide are worth the resources required to provide them, and using technology to improve access, reduce duplication, and increase efficiency. And that ties into our third section, which focuses on technology and digital literacy. Technology has significantly expanded what our library system can offer our residents. It has also allowed us to reach residents who may not have previously considered the library to be a resource for them. For example, we continue to receive inquiries from other library systems about our flight simulator program and our AI chatbot. We also receive feedback about our makerspace instructional workshops and that the library is providing access to equipment and instruction that residents would not otherwise have available to them. These are good examples of innovation that provides a clear benefit to our community, and our goal is to continue innovating while making sure we are consistent with our resources and core mission. Another thing that I added to the agenda item was our primary messages document. It's referenced within the Long Range Services Plan multiple times. This is a one-page informational resource. It's created for library staff, our volunteers, and our library board of trustees so that they can use this when speaking with residents and community groups. It provides information about the value of our library system, highlights the services that may be particularly useful to different populations, and it helps clarify the different sources of library funding. So I recognize that the fiscal environment over the next several years require difficult choices, or may, and this plan is intended to help us in making those choices deliberately rather than reactively. So with that, staff recommend that the board adopt the library's 2027 to 2029 long-range services plan, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? I'm sure that there's agreement that we all think that our library system is the finest in Florida.
Yes, we do.
So thank you. Commissioner Campy.
Can you share some of the stats, how many people visit the libraries? I think some people might, if they're not using the libraries, might not comprehend how large your impact is.
Sure. I mean, it's close to 1 million people a year that visit our locations. We hit another record for our Music and Motion program at the Blake Library. We had over 200 parents and their kids attend a couple of weeks ago. So it's, we are a resource that is used quite a bit, and we have a variety of things that a lot of people don't know about.
How many books are taken out? How much electronic media?
I'm going to guesstimate it's about 600,000 items that are circulated in our collection, and we continue to trend towards the digital collection circulating more than our print and technology collection right now.
And your special presentations that you do pretty much every day, more people attend at the Blake Library in Martin County than do in Miami-Dade and Broward County combined, correct?
So yeah, our event attendance per capita is more than St. Lucie, Indian River County, and Broward County combined. Yep.
It's crazy. And 79% of library funding comes from ad valorem property taxes.
Right.
Yes.
Commissioner Vargas.
I've been to several of the events at the libraries, not just this Blake Library, but also the Palm City. And I think they're fantastic. I mean, with those children jumping around, you want to join them too, be a kid. But I think you do a wonderful job, and your staff is so professional, even if you ask them the same question 3 times. So anyway, just want to applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Motion to accept the library's 2027 through 2029.
And I will second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Department 4 is an updated permitted special event process guide and request form. Good morning, afternoon, rather.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jessica Balish, Parks and Recreation Deputy Director, and with me is Savannah Richmond, the Parks and Recreation Administrative Manager. We have brought this item before you today to formally update the special event application process with changes that provide greater transparency to the applicant, efficiencies for county staff, and to further formalize the department review process. To provide some history, in 2017, the board reviewed and accepted improvements to the Parks and Recreation special event permitting process. Since that time, the county has processed approximately 1,000 special event permits under that framework. It's important to mention that parks designate one events and volunteer coordinator position to serve as the liaison and coordinator for the application process, but is not the sole approving authority. The position oversees each permit application from submission through the event and into post-event follow-up. Depending on the type of event, the special event review may involve Parks and Recreation, risk management, legal, public works including engineering services and traffic, growth management, fire rescue, the sheriff's office, ocean rescue, and other agencies as needed. It should be noted that each authority has reviewed this special event guide and provided input to establish the updated guide presented here today. The updated process will route applications to the county's request for service, or the RFS system, and the communication workflow provides transparency, aids in supporting county asset protection, and helps manage the county's exposure associated with special events. Each reviewing authority in the workflow can approve the application and identify requirements that must be addressed while the applicant receives updates and follows the application progress. Staff recommend that the board approve the updated special event guide and request form as the county's current formal special event application process. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Ms. Balish? Mr. Capps?
Move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And last, we will take up Department 5, which is a request for approval of the Environmental Lands Oversight Committee's list of recommended properties for potential acquisition.
We see you in a suit so much, it's not even that much of a big deal anymore.
I know, I had to get a new one, so.
We saw your video today, very well
It was very
done.
nice.
Thank you. Let's see. Yeah, it's not, up. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Michael Houston, Senior Project Manager in the Martin County Environmental Resource Division, and I'm here today to talk to you about our land acquisition programs. We have a whole new batch of properties that have come forward for potential acquisitions. So in 2024, we had a referendum that authorized a half-cent sales tax for the use of acquiring environmentally sensitive lands, and that required the formation of an Environmental Lands Oversight Committee, or ELOC. And on June 18th of this year, the ELOC met and recommended acquisition of 8 properties. So staff is here today seeking approval to authorize the use of sales tax funds for these acquisitions. So the purpose of these ELOC ranking meetings is for the board members to review environmental information on nominated parcels, to fill out a project ranking form, and then make recommendations to the board on whether to move forward with acquisitions. So this is just what the scoring matrix looks like. There's a series of 10 different criteria that our committee looks at, and they score based on these different criteria, and then the scores are weighted, added together, and tabulated so that we can come up with a score for each property. Then we take those properties and come up with a ranked list based on these weighted scores. So as I mentioned before, as a part of this nomination cycle, we looked at 8 properties containing close to 2,800 acres of land. And these properties were found in all 4 of our different acquisition zones, which you might remember are the Indian River Lagoon South, Palmar, Loxalucy, and Blue Ways. And many of these properties fall within the Florida Wildlife Corridor. This corridor is really important because it's a state-recognized program that prioritizes creating connected habitats and ecosystems. So several of the properties that we looked at, 6 of them, were located within the Florida Wildlife Corridor. So first, we'll talk about properties that were in the IRL South acquisition zone, and we looked at 2 parcels, solo properties, and then a property adjacent to Hawks Hammock that we're calling the Hawks Hammock Addition. And these projects are important because they are a part of the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan, or SERP, focused on the Indian River Lagoon South. These projects capture stormwater runoff that is severely impacting the St. Lucie River estuary and the Indian River Lagoon. And the purpose of these specific acquisitions is to offset lands impacted by other SERP projects by acquiring these lands. These acquisitions were approved as a part of the federal government's 2007 WRDA bill. And in addition, something that's unique about this is that the state funds that are generated, or funds that we spend, are matched by the federal government to be used to complete SERP projects somewhere within the system. So first up, we have this solo properties parcel. It's a 139-acre parcel. It has very good quality. There is a cell tower in the middle of the property, but nothing surrounds it. And it is within the footprint of IRL South, and it's adjacent to Barbie Ranch, which many of you are familiar with. We acquired the conservation easement recently on that area. So it could be a part of a larger greenway system that would include the C44 project, Alapata, and Barbie Ranch, and then this property. The second property that we're looking at is Hawks Hammock Addition. So we have an existing county preserve. It's 432 acres. It's one of the bigger parcels that we actually solely manage. And this property would be on the east side of Hawks Hammock. So it would create, it would double the size of the park. It has a high probability of development. And it would also be a good site because we could expand access that is on the adjacent Hawks Hammock Preserve to include this parcel as well. Hawks Hammock is heavily used by equestrian users. Large number are out there every day, so we think that it would be a natural fit into our system. Next up, we have the Palmer Acquisition Zone, and there are two parcels that are up for consideration. One is Palmar Chimney, which you are familiar with Palmar, so this is small lot sizes, quarter to a full acre in size, and then Big Cypress Ranch, which is right near the county line. Both of these projects could be within the Florida Forever program. Big Cypress Ranch is considered to be an essential acquisition by the Florida Forever program, and Palmar Chimney is adjacent to an existing Palmar footprint, so we could expand the Florida Forever project boundary to include this property. So taking a little bit closer look at the Big Cypress Ranch, which is the area highlighted in pink. It is an 851 cypress and wetland dominant property, and it could be a part of a link between Hungerland to the northeast and Corbett Wildlife and Management Area to the southwest. It could be a potential fee simple acquisition or another conservation easement acquisition. And the second is Palmar Chimney. It's a 1,238 acre property that's similar to Palm Beach Heights with small parcel size, and it could be a part of a larger greenway that connects Hungerland from the south to the C44 project to the north. Third up, we have the Loxalucy Acquisition Zone. Loxalucy is an interesting zone because of its east of I-95 and the Turnpike, and it could provide basically a greenway system that's very close to where people live. So it has value in that way. And there are three properties that were up for consideration, including the Methodist Church parcel, the Detilio Addition, and MTN Ranch. This is also a Florida Forever focal area, so it's the Atlantic Ridge Florida Forever footprint. And we have a couple of these properties are either within or adjacent to an existing Florida Forever project footprint. The first up is the First Methodist parcel. This is small, it's about 6.1 acres in size, but preserving this property, and it's the area highlighted in blue, would protect important scrub habitat. And actually, just as significantly, there's a 900-acre parcel, the Medalist property, that's owned by the Water Management District. But currently, there's not access to it because there's no way to get access for the public. So we think that with this and another recent acquisition, which is the Rogers Atlantic Ridge parcel, that we could potentially create an access point that would open up that 900 acres so that the citizens of Martin County would get to explore and enjoy it. Then we have the Detilio parcel. This is adjacent to our existing Kitchen Creek Preserve. It's 12.2 acres and it's heavily impacted, but we think that it could be part of a flowway, the Central Flowway project that we've been working on here in the county for a long time, and that it could provide a benefit to the Loxahatchee River. We also think that it could provide a trail connection for Atlantic Ridge and Jonathan Dickinson State Park. And this one is currently listed on several realtor sites.
Mr. Houston, is there any portion of Detilio that's not impacted?
No, it's pretty much, there's a lake, it's pretty much all impacted. But you might recall that the existing Kitchen Creek project was also similarly impacted, and you've seen what we've done with that. The benefit of this acquisition and this property is that there's not many places to hold water, and we could certainly use more water storage in this area to rehydrate and provide the timing and quantities of flow that's helpful to the restoration of the Loxahatchee River. So it has a, if this wasn't within that flowway and it didn't have potential as a part of that flowway, we probably wouldn't have considered it. But we could turn it into a really nice feature that could help us with our larger goals of restoring the Loxahatchee River.
Thanks.
Oh, and then we have MTN Ranch. MTN Ranch is on the south side of Bridge Road, just west of 138th Street. It's actually a 100-acre property, so that's a typo. But it's also within the Kitchen Creek watershed, and it's next to the Leonard parcel, which is up for consideration. It's a formerly approved ELOC project that has board approval that we're working with the state on to put a conservation easement, and we think that's going to happen by early next year. So that property is close to 250 acres in size. So with MTN Ranch and the Leonard parcel side by side, you could be looking at 350 acres of protected habitat on the south side of Bridge Road in the Loxahatchee footprint. It also has a large cypress slough on the property, and we believe that this one is looking more like an acquisition of a conservation easement. The property is listed for sale, but I think the owner wants to keep it and continue to manage it and protect it as they have been for something like 20 years. And finally, we have our Blue Ways acquisition zone. We have one up for consideration today, the Justin Wilson edition. I will mention there's another property on here. It's the Avonlea property. That will be going back to the ELOC committee for their vote at next month on September 17th. There is a little disagreement in terms of how to handle that property. Some of the board members thought that it should be an acquisition of just the city of Stuart, but that is actually up for you to decide and not the ELOC. So the Justin Wilson addition would slot right in next to the existing Justin Wilson property, Lance Corporal Justin Wilson property in Palm City. It's a 20-acre parcel. It's on the south side of the existing preserve and park. The drainage for this property feeds into Bessie Creek and the St. Lucie Estuary. It does include rare bay call swamp habitat, and we would like to use it to create a trail system extending from Justin Wilson Park into this and through this parcel. So as I mentioned, our oversight committee met and they ranked several properties, and this is the ranked list, with the highest being Big Cypress Ranch and Datilio receiving the lowest ranking. However, the ELOC committee did recommend that we move forward with acquisition on all of these properties. And that is the end of my presentation.
Questions? So how do you proceed with the rankings about pursuing these? You start out with number one, and if you can successfully negotiate a price on that, you close on that one and then go on to number two, or do you simultaneously negotiate?
We simultaneously negotiate. We realize, with the first batch of properties, we're lucky if we get half of the ones that are on this list. So we do try and prioritize the ones that are higher on the list. Last go around, I think Whitworth was highest on the list, and that would certainly be a huge priority if we were able to come to a deal on that property. So we look at all the properties, but certainly the ones higher on the list, we try to make sure that we acquire.
And is Whitworth still in limbo?
It's still in limbo, yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Vargas?
Yeah, I was looking on page 622. I see here that Martin County has collected about 11.2 million, 3-month state collection lag, I understand that. And that Martin County has spent approximately 21.2 million cumulative between year 25 and 26 so far. So what is it that you do have now?
I would need to defer to Stephanie Murley in terms of the exact total, but I believe that there's over $10 million that is currently been raised and has not been assigned to a project at this point.
Okay, yeah, and I can definitely check with her. So with the number of properties that you've made a presentation for, I mean, when you're making negotiations, how firm are you insofar as below appraised value to secure these properties for the benefit of Martin County?
We typically try and stay at about 90% of appraised value.
Well, you can
So-
go down to 75 too.
We do,
right?
yeah, and we certainly, will if we believe that we can make a deal. So we start low and then work our way up.
Real low.
We do, and I will also mention that any deal has to come before the board for final approval. So you will get any say in terms, and you'll have all the information in terms of what the appraised value is versus
Okay.
what the asking price of the property is.
Yeah, I'm familiar. It does come before the board, yeah. Okay.
And we will definitely be talking to you throughout this process and involving you as we negotiate with these owners.
Commissioner Heatherington.
Yes, Commissioner Hurd, you asked the question that I had on prioritization and do you negotiate simultaneously? Because some of those are going to be easier to close than others, so it might be 3 or 4 priority rating, but you might be able to close that one.
Correct. And I would say, because we limited our acquisitions to the 4 zones, that anything we get is going to be a valuable acquisition. So even something that's a little lower on the list still provides value, still provides habitat, still is part of wildlife corridors. And these are all, they all have value to our program and all make our program better.
I will gladly make a motion to approve the outline list for acquisition.
Second, with a question.
Commissioner Campy.
Mr. Eustace, thank you very much for a couple reasons. One, I always notice the people that are super passionate about the work they're doing. You're presenting a PowerPoint, but you're not reading from notes. You know these properties like they were your own. You know the process. I mean, you're literally the author of the procedures that we're using, or at least one of, with your legal counsel over there and others. So I really appreciate that. What I really like about this selection, and the one that you left on the screen, is that when we were originally talking about the referendum, I was concerned that when it was just going to be SERP or the St. Lucie Estuary or the Loxahatchee or the ocean, that, and I understand why we crafted the language the way we did, but I was fearful that if we didn't try to buy up some of the very few remaining green open spaces, especially untouched, within the communities, within the neighborhoods, within the towns, we'd be missing. If you're constantly buying all along the southern border of the county or all along western, way out west, that the residents that voted for this wouldn't really see the actual impact in their own communities. So this is perfect. Now I get that, I looked at the criteria, and I get that it's 7 on the list of 8. And what both Commissioner Hurd and Commissioner Heatherington said, that the list, I know you're ranking them, but if you're on the list, you're on the list, correct? And that you'll be working, diligently if this were to become in play. There's nothing you guys won't be like, well, it's number 7, so I guess we're not going to really chase after it. You're chasing everything on the list, correct?
That is correct.
I guess maybe for legal or Stephanie Murley or Carolyn Timon, if I was able to participate with district funds to help acquire this property, is that a viable option?
I don't see why it wouldn't be a viable option. Absolutely.
Well, keep that in mind. Simply because when you look at the map, this is, along, for folks, it's obviously west of the river. That's the Palm City Bridge right there along the right. If we don't, that's one of the largest pieces that's available in sort of DTP, downtown Palm City. If we don't get it, then if you went back to look at the list, it said development, potential for development. Can you go back, Ms. Gordon, or to the chart?
That one?
This one.
Yeah.
If you see, we got the highest score on development potential. Oh, no, excuse me. Yeah, no, the highest score, 63 on that, which is not a great score. You don't want a high score on that. That means that the potential of it being developed into something else and never being able to be saved is apparent. So I'd be interested in this helping to assist to acquire that.
We appreciate your interest, and that's certainly something we keep in mind, is that we want to, where we can, and we're limited in terms of the ordinance language and having willing sellers. But we do, when we have an opportunity to buy something in town where people live, we certainly want to see those acquisitions move forward.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate that. Now, I think that using the use of this in district funds, the residents of the district would say that was a very good use of the funds to protect these final spots in Palm City. And it's nice because most of the rest of them, like I said, are elsewhere in the county. There's only going to be a few opportunities within this area to do something like that. So I appreciate that it's even on the list. Thank you.
Commissioner Vargas?
What about Jensen Beach? I've spoken with John Mayle about this, about looking at a certain parcel. Can you give me an update on that? If not right at this moment, maybe we can have a meeting so I can see what's that.
Absolutely.
That's in town. That's Jensen Beach.
Correct, and we certainly would be interested in properties in Jensen Beach. They just have to meet the intent of the ordinance. So in this case, the Justin Wilson property is low enough that if it were developed, it could be, with resilience. Like it falls into the Blue Way program because it provides resilience protection, so if it were developed, it could be an issue in terms of flooding, coastal flooding. So that's one of the things that we can look at to include properties. So we can take a look at that and see if it's up against the river, or if the area could potentially have some coastal flooding issues. That could be some criteria that we look at.
Okay, also Rio, too.
Yes,
Exciting things are happening there.
correct.
It doesn't mean we can't do this also.
Absolutely.
Get with me on that. Yeah.
We will get together with you. We'll set something up on your calendar.
That
for a
would be
meeting.
great. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sebastian Fox, Senior Assistant County Attorney. Commissioner Campy, to your interest in the Justin Wilson property, the ordinance that establishes the framework to acquire these properties, as staff explained, is tied to the appraised value. But I think what your offer provides a unique opportunity for us is that it may be able to close some of the gap between the appraised value and the price that the seller is willing to release the property at. So I think staff can work with you, and we'll work with you if the opportunity presents itself to specifically kind of delineate those funds that could be used in that. So I think that's a great opportunity for us to create some flexibility.
Perfect, thank you. And if you let me know who the seller is, might be somebody I know.
Any further questions? There's a motion. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Commissioner Capps.
I think I did already.
I just want to brag on the staff a little bit and on the ELOC committee, and express once again how much confidence I have in the leadership of this whole effort. It seems that this just is going really, really well, and we appreciate all that you guys do.
And we also appreciate these willing sellers who are coming forward. They continue to come forward 2 years after the referendum was passed, so it's really encouraging to see the public enthusiasm for embracing this half-cent sales tax.
When's Wheezy coming back?
I think she's run out of money right now
Oh,
for
there's no
this.
such thing. Fleischman East, they got a lot of money.
She's moving on to another county now.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. We are at the end of our meeting. Would anyone from the public like to address us? If so, please fill out a request to speak form and hand it to the bailiff, who will get it to us. Mr. McChrystal.
Busy night and day for this guy.
I find the data center topic very fascinating. I think it was back in February when I was going off one of my airport tirades. And At the end of it, just off the top of my head, I shouted, I said, and data centers in Indiantown over my dead body. And that just like came out of nowhere. I'm like, what? You actually said that? But it's a fascinating topic because I remember in the really early days, I'm thinking, you got to tread lightly on this one because you will literally have to take a hat and cover it with tin foil to even go there. Okay, those are the early days, and then, wait a minute here. The greenies are like, wait a minute, all this water, all this pollution. I'm thinking, hey, this is a gift. I mean, I know why I don't want them, and it is tinfoil hat, okay? And I don't want, this is happening, okay? And then come the greenies, right? And I'm thinking, wow, this will work. This will work pretty good. It'll at least buy some time and maybe have everyone discuss some things. But the bigger topic of populism, I think history will show that the populist movement started with COVID. And the loss of public trust of every public official from the top all the way down to local officials as they handled COVID, and specifically the COVID vaccine. And it was a mysterious time to me when 70% of the population took the jab, 30% did not. And public officials were actually promoting it. And as I was talking about earlier, the truth, it's like, I love Elvis's philosophy on the truth, something about it just never goes away, that type of thing. I remember thinking, it's on. This is the start of something here. Because you can't put this genie back in the bottle of, we can't trust you anymore, okay? And then the advent of social media, which is such a weapon, so to speak, for the resistance. So it's a fascinating time, and we'll see how this goes. Full disclosure, I've never been in prison, but it might be on my bucket list. And I will tell you this when it's going to happen. The first time I see a robot as greeter at Walmart, I'm going for the baseball bat, and I will beat that
time
thing
is up.
into
Thank you.
submission.
Thank you. Anyone else?
It's more like open mic than public comment.
You see one of those
Commissioner
robots
Vargas,
at the
any
airport that
last
gets served food?
comments?
Oh, I think I'm fine today.
How
Thank
about you, Commissioner Capps?
I'm good.
Commissioner Campy?
Fine.
And
I'm all
Commissioner-
set.
Mr. Donaldson?
All set, thank you.
And Ms. Elder?
Yes, I just want to remind the board that since there's nobody running against Mr. Collins in November, that he is a commissioner-elect, and sunshine laws fully apply to Mr. Collins. So board members under sunshine are not allowed to talk to Commissioner-elect Collins about anything that could foreseeably come before the board. So I just want to remind everybody that it's a unique area of the law, but sunshine applies to Commissioner-elect Collins as well as all of you.
Good to know. Thank you. We are adjourned.